Our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas pledge. I pledge the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to you too, and to the republic for which it stands. Wow. Okay, let's start that over. That threw me off. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Did you get that, Jerry? It's the YouTube. We just need to click it off. Okay, if y'all will bow your heads with me and pray. Dear God, we just thank you for allowing us to come together today. We ask your blessings on the court as we make decisions for the county and the citizens of Hutchinson County. Thank you so much for the needed rain that we've received lately. We feel blessed, and we know that you're watching over us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, Blake.
That made her change anthems, or they made you change.
It was confusing.
Good morning.
Okay, y'all have any questions on the bills?
I move to pay the bills. Oh, yes, sorry.
Anybody have any questions?
Hey, we amended the budget on the roof of the fridge library. Right?
Okay,
Or are we doing that?
yes.
We did that last time. Did we amend the roof bud for fridge when we got that check in the capital improvements line item?
Yes.
Okay, that's the only one I had.
I like your little tabs.
I know, there's gonna be a lot more.
Right.
That's what Dale taught me.
Okay, no?
I move to pay the bills as presented.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Is Kathy here? Kathy, do we have payroll?
The only thing I have is our employee changes.
Mhm.
So the new employees, we have Kelby Ewing. His hire date in the jail was 6/16. Tasha Broom, her hire date part-time in 84th and 316th was June 21st. And then our separations is Brendan Rogers in the jail on 6/13. Christy Slough, of course, on 6/14 from extension service. And Terry Cole in the road and bridge on 6/28.
On this payroll, I have a question real quick.
Oh,
It's about the comp time, it's for the sheriff. Sheriff, when are you going to start working on this comp time? Is it
Can you elaborate on your question?
do what?
Can you elaborate on what you mean?
Well, your comp time is 1,270 hours, which is 6 times what we were at last year for your department.
So
So
there's some reasons for that too. We had an injury for one of our deputies. We also had one on administrative leave for a few months, so we also had to cover those shifts. And we're also working on getting people days off.
So when are we going to work on getting the comp time down?
Already working on it.
Do you have an idea of when that's? Because 2 months ago when we asked about it, you said you were going to work on it, and it's doubled since then.
But they still need people days off. We're working on it.
Have a motion to approve the payroll?
Make a motion to approve payroll. Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Item 5, any additions or corrections to our previous commissioners court?
No corrections. That was the meeting June the 14th.
Item 6, has anyone else signed that? Public comment? Okay, I have a signed public comment from Sharon Crock and Lori Wilson. Do y'all want to wait till we get to that agenda item, or do you want to speak now? Whichever. I may speak now if you want. Okay. Yeah, you can go right ahead. Sharon?
I signed copies here.
everybody in case we don't get through.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to just give them to Dwight. Pass them.
Ready?
Yes, go right ahead.
My name is Sharon Crock, and my hobby for the last 7 years has been dog rescue. I come to you with concerns over some recent events that included dogs, but revealed other issues during the course of the last month. On May 27th of 21, a cruelty case was initiated through the Hutchinson County Sheriff's Office from a landlord stating 3 adult dogs and 9 puppies were not fed or watered for 2 weeks. A mom and a litter of 9 were inside the home and 2 males in the fish yard. Deputy Luis was the responding officer and received phone number from Mountain Rescue Incorporated in Spearman from the Board of Animal Control. He asked for help in placing the 12 animals. She sent her volunteer from Border to the home to assess the dog's temperament. I spoke with the officer twice on this date and questioned about whether there would be a breach of chain of custody if the rescue removed, and he said no. He was reluctant to pursue charges but stated he would try. I left a message for Sheriff Kemp on this date at around 4:50 p.m. and requested a return call and left my number. The following day, on May 28th, Matt was making arrangements with the landlord to remove the animals. I suggested to her to call DeWeese and requested his presence at the removal and to request a copy of the warrant. According to her, she said that she would have to do a record request. I offered to do the request for her to have on her file after the holiday. I sent my first request late June 1st for any and all records in regards to the case and for correspondence to be electronic. On June 2nd, owner of the dogs contacted Matt threatening to press charges for theft and to come to her home to retrieve. I called records clerk and she was out of the office, so I left a message and I emailed a request to her specifically asking for something showing care, custody, and control transfer to rescue. I sent a Facebook message to Sheriff Kemp's official Facebook page requesting a phone call too, because he had earlier answered another citizen's questions in regards to this case. She returned call and I asked to speak to Sheriff Kemp as I'd not got a return call from the 27th. Still, he was out of the office, so I spoke to Trahan. He read me the incident report, and in the report it stated that the officer helped load the animals, so I told him to remember that when the owners came to press charges on the rescue, that he helped steal them too, because there was no warrant prior to entry into the home or the removal of the dogs. I learned the night of the 2nd there was a warrant issued that afternoon, so I requested a copy of the warrant through email that night. The next day I received a reply back from the records clerk stating once the incident report was approved, I would receive it. As far as a copy of the warrant, I would have to speak to Hajar. I do not have to speak to anybody in regards to the public records request, so I did not call him. And I received a second correspondence from the clerk stating that there was discrepancies in the incident report, and once Hajar fixed them, that she would forward them to me. In the following days, I looked more closely at the photos and videos of the 12 animals. In my personal opinion, they were healthy weights except for the runts, and it was apparent that they had worms. Dogs die within 3 days of no water, 5 to 7 without food. So if that were true, they were not fed and watered for 2 weeks. There would have been 12 dead dogs. Also, none of the 12 were seen by a veterinarian for professional assessment or required medical attention, and the puppies were dewormed by the rescue. After 2 weeks had went by, I went to the Hutchinson County Sheriff's Office to get the documents I requested to be sent electronically. The clerk said, "Did you not get them?" And I said, "No, because you did not send them." She went to her office and printed the documents and returned with them. I looked through the 3 pages and asked where the warrant was. She made a phone call to Hajar, and he told her to tell me to request it from the JP office. I was also quoted in an email after my first request that it was $5 for the first page of documents and $1 for every page after to obtain records and required received up front. Hajar, as a courtesy, waived what would have been $7 for 3 pages. The Texas Administrative Code only allows 10 cents a page. Unless the government entity applies for an exemption because their actual cost is 25% more than allowed. I have been told that they are also charging $10 per DVD and $1 per minute, which the OAG sets DVDs at $1 total, no content charges. My any and all records request generated only the incident report. Government offices do not get to decide what you do not get. If a government body contends a record is not public knowledge, they have to request opinion of the Attorney General, allowing them to withhold the record. The only noticeable change from being read the report on the 2nd was the fact that the officer loaded the dogs in the rescue van. The initial date of the case was incorrectly listed as the 28th, as it was the 27th. Female defendant's birth date was listed as June 7th of 2021, and she was less than 24 hours and 1 foot tall. One defendant's name was spelled incorrectly and his birth date not filled in, but those discrepancies ignored and left in an approved incident report. Because of this, I'm requesting serious consideration that all deputies have animal cruelty training in regards on how to investigate and determine animal cruelty allegations correctly, due process of cruelty cases, and how to prepare legal documents for such. Also, at least one officer should be certified as an animal cruelty investigator. I'm very concerned at how the future cases are going to be handled and about all past cases. They also placed a 501c3 organization in a very bad situation that could have resulted in her losing that status, or worse, by not acquiring the warrant required to entry and removal. As far as the leash law, in my opinion, it won't be productive, profitable, or successful. None of the 3 animal controls can absorb county dogs into their shelters. There are at least 16 subdivisions that houses that have less than 5 acres of property that would fall under this ordinance. Because of this case, Danette Animal Control had 14 animals in 6 kennels, and 1 male from the case with an unrelated female housed together. The female is now pregnant, and time will tell if it happened at the Danette Animal Control. The department will be hard pressed to respond to at-large animals across the county and attempt to locate owners to find them. Those that keep their pets secure do so because they care, not because of a fine. Tackling at-large animals in the county will be like dipping the ocean out with a teaspoon. I've been doing that for 7 years in this county. And until officers have animal training, I do not believe they should be acting as animal control officers in any capacity, in my opinion, until properly trained. And I appreciate you listening to my time and my concerns. I did not know where to go with this. I still have not received a phone call from Sheriff Kenna on any of this, any of my problems. So that's why I'm here today. And if Lori, she was gonna read the rest of it.
Right, and
Thank
just
you, Sharon.
concerns that I had on it, like Sunday, we were walking our property outside of Fritch. I keep my dogs in town, in the yard, because I don't want them hit by a car. But we don't have it's barbed wire fence, so obviously my dogs can get out. But I was like, I would be in violation if this leash law goes in effect, just walking up and down my personal property. Then I got to thinking, 2 blocks over in this subdivision is Moore County. And then it's just overwhelming to me to think how within a county a leash law could be enforced when there's bigger issues like the animal cruelty issues that need to be addressed. So, thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Thank you. Okay, any other public comment? Anybody? Yes. All right, item 7 is to consider, discuss, approve any and all items necessary or pertaining to the county jail.
One of the items that need to be approved, we've got 50 inmates today, 40 males and 10 females.
Everything else okay at the jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You all have anything?
No, I haven't heard anything.
All right, good. Item 8, consider, discuss, approve any and all items necessary or pertaining to the county courthouse.
Past week, we had a water leak at the Ag Extension office. We got the leak fixed, and the vinyl floor had to come up and dry it out and laying it back down, but it should be finished today. So, that's all I have on the courthouse, I think.
Hopefully that's enough.
Let's
That's
just
enough
be
for now.
quiet. It'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm sure everyone noticed we got the sod laid.
Yeah, the solid's laid.
Out there,
Right.
and it looks great. Thanks to the road and bridge guys. Is mine here? No. For helping us with that. They were a huge help. And Eddie and got a few inmates in the jail, so we appreciate that. It's looking good out there.
One thing on that water leak we had, it's started from the condensation lines on the AC units, and that's a big problem. We're going to have to redo that. We've had several issues with the condensation line, especially in the basement. So it's one of the things that's coming. We'll have to work on.
Will need to be insulated?
Now, it's not insulated. They put in with PVC, and they're starting to droop and get airlocked, and these little pumps that are on them don't work, and it's just it's an issue.
This is from the units they installed several years ago. This is from the installation.
It's from the original installation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had, before you guys were on it, we had condensation troubles. first year that they were installed. So
I think these were
I thought
put
they-
in.
They're supposed to fix that?
Yes, they redid the condensate lines.
Well,
So this is their redo, supposed redo.
the condensation lines weren't redone. All this other stuff was redone. The condensation lines is what Top Notch put in 4, 5 years ago.
Right.
And
Maybe 4 years.
they haven't been redone. Now, some of the other piping's been redone. Some other things have. Especially in the basement, because you have to use pumps to get the water out of the basement to the sewer line.
Yeah, we have lots of issues with that. So.
Yeah,
Okay, anything further on the courthouse?
that's all I got.
Okay. Good. All right, item 9 is the announcement and approval of our new ag extension agent. Josh, you wanna know? This is Josh Brooks. He is, I keep saying he's our Brandon, but
I am the new Brandon.
it's a
I'm
new
the,
Brandon.
I'm the district administrator for District 1, the Panhandle District. And I took Brandon Duke's spot, so I was a county extension agent for 22 years. Started out down in Corsicana, moved to Wise County, and been in Hall County for 17 and a half years. So I've been in extension for a long time. Today, my job is to introduce our new ag agent here in Hudson County, Derek Williamson. I'm privileged to present him to the court here. He's a graduate from West Texas A&M University with an animal science degree. He was on the judging team at Clarendon. He has worked 6 years in Armstrong County, so he's been a county agent. Y'all are not getting a newbie off the street, which is a good thing. He's done some outstanding programming in ag and youth programming in Armstrong County. So I'm really fired up for him to be here in Hutchinson County. I think the opportunity here in Hutchinson County is great. The border and all over the place, maybe some untapped places that he can help with that. Hutchinson County will, y'all's part of the salary is $25,684 plus travel and budgeted items. And his start date will be July the 15th. And I'm just proud to present him. So.
Thank you. Derek, did you have anything to add or?
Oh, I don't know if y'all got any questions for me, but I really enjoy the youth side of things. That's kind of where I really built what I feel like a good, strong part of my program in. I really enjoy the livestock side of things, but as well as I enjoy helping producers, I'm probably a little stronger on the range and cow-calf side of things, but I enjoy getting to know maybe a little bit more cotton up here than what I've had to deal with. So I'm always looking to try and learn new things. So,
Great.
yeah, you're welcome. Welcome, guys.
All right, so do we have a, go ahead, Tyler.
No, I have a business card I was going to hand out. If
Motion
anybody
for-
needs one.
Acceptance,
So moved.
second.
Who won what?
My cell phone number's on there. If y'all need one.
Thank you.
If y'all need that.
Okay, Chris made the motion for approval
I'll
of
second it.
Derek
Or
Williamson.
did you second? No, little second.
And second, any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, all right, thanks. Derek, good to have you.
Thank you, guys.
Looking forward to working with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, Josh. Good to see you. Oh. I thought that was Dan's computer. Okay, the thing we have all been anticipating greatly is our presentation of our outside audit by John Maris. We always look forward to this, John. You know we do.
Oh, you flatter me, but you lie so much.
Well, Mark told me I had to take this home and read it this weekend.
Thank you.
So,
Did you get one of
Usually
those?
my judges and my commissioners do not
Oh,
read
you
it.
guys,
So
yeah.
I appreciate that.
I did not either. I'm gonna let you give me the
Get the highlights.
condensed version.
You did? I see. Now I don't even have to make my joke. You just proved it true. Okay, with that being said, let's dive into this. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As the judge said, my name is John Maris. I'm the audit partner with Joshua Pickens and Francis, your outside auditors. Before I begin, I do want to thank the court for allowing us to once again come over and serve Hutchinson County in this capacity. It really is a joy to get to come and work with Mark and your other officials. You've got a good group of people in the courthouse. If it wouldn't violate election laws, I'd say you want to chain them all to their desks, but I guess that's kind of illegal. So with that being said, I'm going to be singing their praises a lot because really your treasurer, your tax assessor, your clerks, you do have a good group. With that being said, let's dive into this. Page number 1. This is our independent auditor's report. There's only one paragraph I have to mention as a matter of standard today, but I'll go through some of it in a little bit of detail just for everyone, just so you're aware of everything. So the first thing I have to tell you is the second paragraph. It's management's responsibility. Talks about that management of the county. This is Mark's absolute favorite. Is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, including designing and implementing internal controls to ensure that they're free of material misstatement, whether due to error or fraud. What that translates to in English, because I recognize that was not English, is that these first 2 pages are mine. The rest of this book is his. The reason why I have to point that out to you is there is a significant push coming out of the Government Accountability Office, the lovely folks who write the standards that I have to follow, that by assisting you in preparing your financial statements, we're impairing our independence. What they ideally want to have happen is, what they want to have happen is that you have 2 firms, one to do the financial statement prep and one to come in and do the audit. They're willing, if you have somebody with the suitable skills, knowledge, and experience, which you do, you have a very competent and capable internal auditor, county auditor. They want the county to prepare the financial statements and us just to come in and put our letter on them. That's devastating for the panhandle. Counting Hutchinson County with Mark here, we've got maybe 3 entities that actually would meet the criteria to be able to do that. Other than that, everybody else would be seeking outside help and nobody has the budget to absorb that. So thankfully, they've continued to allow us to have the workaround where we have Mark and I believe we have Kathy sign off on the representation letter as well, that they've made all the records available to us. Nothing was kept hidden or secret, and that the management of the county has read through. This is probably why he's asking you to read the financials, has read through and is willing and able to accept responsibility for them. My sincerest prayer is that we can keep doing that for the next 20 years because I really don't want to change. I don't know what that would look like for the panhandle, so I just don't want to face it. A little bit of deniability, but that's okay. Denial is a fun place to be sometimes. Okay, it's the darkest news of the morning, I promise. The next section down, the auditor's responsibility, as I've already alluded to, our responsibility is simply to express opinions on these financial statements based on our audit, and then it tells you the standards that I use to conduct that audit. The last sentence of that section, we believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinions, which are at the bottom of the page. This is what you've engaged us for. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of Hutchinson County, Texas, as of September 30th, 2020. It's the cleanest opinion we can give. Like I said, between Mark and Kathy, the work that they do and all your officials, you've got a very clean set of books and are given the appropriate information to make good quality decisions off of them. All right, with that being said, let's get into the fun stuff, the numbers. I've spent years harping on you to write a management discussion and analysis, Mark, and I'm just going to skip right over it. Just to let you, just to reinforce exactly how important it is.
Okay.
So on page 7, this is your statement of net position. Effectively your balance sheet, we are taking all the funds of the county, aggregating them together into a singular unit, and then adding in all the long-term assets or liabilities. This is the presentation that if you took your financials into any financial institution, they would instantly know the condition of the county. The governmental activities are all the general fund, all the lovely little non-major funds aggregated together. The business type activities is the airport, and then coming into the county as a total. As far as your numbers go, you ended the year in very strong financial condition. I have nothing negative to tell you about it. You have cash and cash equivalents at the top of the page, just shy of $10 million. You couldn't find another $1,000 to get to 10 million even. Sorry, my OCD just saw that and twitched a little bit. So you ended the year just shy of $10 million. That's $1.6 million higher than you were at last year. For the airport at $118,000, that fund did dip a little bit. It's down about 16,000. I'm sorry, 26,000 over the previous year. The other big changes you see about a handful of lines down, you have a net pension asset this year of 349,000 in governmental activities, 7,900 in business type. That's up from the net pension liability you had last year by $3.3 million. What's going on there? And there's a chart in the back that illustrates this much better than I can describe it. It's the valuation of your TCDRS pension plan for your employees. Whenever TCDRS has a very good market year, which they did for the 2019 valuation, that flips from a liability to an asset just on a dime. So this is one of the things we've seen it over the past 6 years, and I think we've established a pretty good baseline now. You're going to see this line item just flip year after year after year after year. One of the many reasons why I hate this standard. A better metric for you to go by is your actual funded status, and they've got you listed at 95.6% funded as of the December 31st, 2019 valuation, which is the most recent valuation date. That's excellent standing. For everything we're hearing out of Austin from them is that anything above 85, they consider you a gold star standard. When you start dropping below 85, they get a little nervous. When you get below 80, that's when they start coming and knocking on your door looking for a check. So Hutchinson County is in excellent shape as far as your pension plan is concerned. So I don't want you to look at that massive change and think that you've overfunded your plan or done anything unusual with it. It's working exactly the way that we think it should be. As far as the other big changes, truthfully, there aren't that many. Accounts payable right there in the middle of the page for the governmental activities of $214,000 is down $260,000 over the previous year. Right at the end of 2019, we bought some very expensive election equipment or election software, and that's the big change. You obviously didn't need to repurchase that this year. At the bottom of the page, your net position, unrestricted net position. This is a key number for you. If you take all the assets of the county, convert them to cash, pay off all your obligations, this is what you'd be left over with. It's your equity. You can see the governmental activities of $8.4 million. That's up about $1.5 million over the previous year. The airport of $101,000. It's down about $34,000 over the previous year, leaving the county at $8.5 million left in equity reserves. One of the calculations that we run for you is we take your annual expenditures, divide them evenly into the 12 months, just to see how long you could run at last year's budget without collecting any additional revenue. The general fund could run for 6.8 months, and the airport a little under a month and a half. That's a great place to be, especially the general fund, that 6.8. We usually recommend anywhere from 3 to 6 months, and that gets you through the lean tax collection period of the summer, where your revenue streams are very, very minimal, and it also gives you a little bit of a cushion in case something unexpected were to happen. So you're just above that, which is an excellent place to be. One of the last calculations we run for you is your current ratio, the county's ability, just using current year resources, cash and receivables, to pay off the obligations that would be due and payable this year. The general fund could pay off your current year obligations 32 times over. There's really not much else to say about that. That's a great place to be. The court really has positioned Hutchinson County in such a way that should something unexpected or catastrophic befall you, you've got just about every tool available to handle it. So the court really does need to be commended for the decisions that you've been making. All right, page 8, this is your statement of activities, also known as your income statement. The way this statement reads, because it's unusual and it's unlike anything you ever see, I promise. In the top left-hand corner, you have the expenses of the county broken out by what we call functional area. Then moving across the top of the page, you have any direct charges for services, any operating or capital grants that were received, coming into what it truly costs to provide those functions to the citizens. And then down those right-hand columns, you have your general revenues, property taxes, investment earnings, things of that nature. These are not program specific. They can be applied across the board. Coming into your change in net position or net income for the year. Not a whole lot going on here. Your expenses of $14.8 million are down $722,000, or about 5% over the previous year. The biggest decrease there is actually a non-cash related item. I've been railing about that retirement measurement for a while there. $438,000 of that decrease is the non-cash change in the expense for that retirement valuation. So it looks really good for you, but it's not actually cash related. The airport though of $960,000, those expenses are down about $96,000, or about 10% over the previous year. So expenses did come down pretty much countywide. As far as your revenues are concerned, operating grants and contributions of 663 are up $170,000 over the previous year. The lion's share of that is the HAVA and COVID grants that you received from the state of Texas. Property taxes are up about 3% collection-wise. Everything else is pretty consistent with the exception of investment earnings. Investment earnings of $124,000 were cut in half from last year. We saw in March of 2020, just across the panhandle, interest rates just went to absolutely nothing. So that was kind of an expected decrease there. And to be perfectly honest, y'all didn't get as hit as hard as some of your neighboring counties did. Pardon me, hit as hard as some of your neighboring counties did. You only saw a 50% decrease. We've seen some 60, 70, 80% decreases in investment earnings. So excellent job keeping interest coming in. I gotta sing their praises. They did really good for you. Starting on page 9 is the fund level presentation. This is closer to what you're used to seeing coming out of Mark and Kathy's offices on a monthly basis. You see all the different funds broken out: the general fund, the road and bridge fund, the non-major governmental funds. These are the $1 and $2 fines and fees that the clerks and the JPs get to collect that they love so very much. I can't see her laughing. I'm hoping she is. They hate those little fees. Anyways, there's no new information here, so I'm not going to spend any time on it. The even numbered pages 10 and 12 are the reconciliations between what we've already gone over and this fund level presentation. You can see that it's all the long-term assets and liabilities that we've been referencing. Page 13 is the airport by itself. This is one of the lovely little bureaucratic nonsenses that I have to follow. There's absolutely no change in this presentation between what we've already looked at on pages 7 and 8 and this presentation. The exact same numbers, exact same descriptions. I just have to show it to you twice. I don't know why, but I do. It's larger print if you wanted to see it that way. I will say that. Okay. Last but not least on the financials, and then we'll get into the notes, which is probably what put you to sleep, sir. Page 18, your statement of fiduciary net position. This is all of the funds that your officials are holding on behalf of others outside of the county. And one of the procedures that our firm conducts is that we go to your offices and with a tremendous amount of help from Mark, but we go to your offices and we make sure that each one of the officials are taking care of their cash. They make sure that they are making sure at the end of the year they know exactly who every dollar of their money is owed to. And 201, your officials are really, really good at this. They are taking care of their money. They know exactly where every dollar is owed, whether it's the registry accounts in the clerk's office or it's taxes in the tax assessor's office, which she's got the lion's share of the money, but your officials do really, really good. I really cannot praise them enough. Now, I'm not going to, and we'll get into this in more detail in just a second, I'm not going to say everything is absolutely perfect, because perfect does not exist. That's not the world we live in. But what I am saying is that there is no indication that anything untoward is happening. Your officials are taking care of their dollars, they're taking care of their cents, and the records that they're producing support all the transactions that they've engaged in. So I always have to preface, if I start singing praises too loudly, everyone starts thinking everything's amazing, and then something bad happens, and that doesn't look good. So I'm not saying everything's just perfect, but your officials are looking like they are really good. Page 19 starts the notes of the financials. Again, my usual joke, and like I said, you proved it true. You're falling asleep right now. No. I'm not going to hit these in any great detail. I'm just going to get the ones that I believe would be of the most interest to the court. The first one being note number 4 on page 29. This is actually not a required disclosure. This is something that our firm adds in for the benefit of your readers. We've talked a lot about your cash reserves. We talked about your equity reserves. This talks about your property taxes. And it is a discussion about if the county were to max out your tax rate to the level that the state of Texas, the constitutional limit that the state of Texas says you could. We won't get into any goofy discussions about rollback elections or anything like that. This is a purely theoretical discussion. But if you were to max out your rate based off of the valuation from the 2019 roll, you could raise an additional almost $5 million in revenue for the general fund. And that's not even taking into account the road and bridge and the lateral road rates that you could assess should the need arise. This just tells your readers that you've got ample opportunities to handle any catastrophe that might befall the county. You've got your cash reserves, you've got your equity reserves, which I've already handled in detail, and now you've got the ability to raise property taxes or take on additional debt. You've left yourself every tool in the box to be able to handle anything that comes up. So again, the court really needs to be commended that you've done an excellent job in positioning Hutchinson County very, very well. Especially, I do have to say, I mean, your tax roll was just under 60 cents. That's actually a pretty reasonable and conservative tax rate compared to some of your neighbors. And the fact that you've got the reserves that you have with a tax rate that's not egregious, some of your neighbors are actually starting to bump up against that constitutional limit. So the fact that you've got 20 cents and some change to work with, that's something that really does need to be commended. Page 32, note number 7, starts the discussion on your retirement plan. It's good information, that's why I wanted to point it out to you, but I'm not going to spend any actual time on that note. There's a chart on the required supplemental information that I've already mentioned that we'll get to in just a little bit that illustrates what I've been talking about on that. I do want to point out note number 10, though, on page 42. This is the discussion on the county's long-term liabilities. You can see at the bottom of that page, it's broken down between the general fund, the governmental activities, and the airport. The airport, the long-term liabilities are simply compensated absences. And the general fund, you have the same compensated absences with an additional note payable. And that note payable will be paid off in fiscal 21. So the county is 1 year away, assuming nothing has changed in the last several months. The county is 1 year away from being debt-free. This also, since you brought up comp time earlier in the meeting, sir, this is where you can see kind of how comp time changed from the end of 2019 to the end of 2020, what hours were earned and what hours were used and where you ended up. And with that, that is the notes to the financials. Page 44 and 45 is the budgetary comparison schedule for the general fund, and 46 is the same information for the road and bridge fund. Just so you can see by department how everyone did compared to budget. With the exception of capital outlays, there are no budget issues to really mention. The capital outlays did look like they exceeded budget. Mark, I'm going to lay that on you. But in total, expenditures for the county in both funds were well under budget. So nothing really to discuss there. At long last, we come to page 47. This is that 10-year trend chart that I've alleged twice now. This shows you your change in your retirement plan year over year. It's going to grow to 10 years. It's actually currently sitting only at 6 because that's how old the standard is. The line item I want to draw your attention to, though, is in the middle of the page. It's investment income net of investment expenses, and you can just track that across the last 6 years and see whenever TCDRS has a really good year, that's when you show a net pension asset, and when they have a bad year, that's when you have a net pension liability. So this is completely outside of your control. That's why I don't ever want you guys to look at that liability or that asset on the front and think that you need to change something, just because of how, it's going to be a harsh word, but it's the best one I can think of, how fickle this standard is. As the actuary assumption changes and as the market changes, it's going to have a direct impact on you. So if for whatever reason you ever feel like you need more information or you want to make a decision or a change about your pension plan, the best information or the best advice I can give you is please get TCDRS physically in the building to tell you what your funding status is as of that moment, because none of these numbers are really based on your funding status or in reality. So they're not good decision-making tools. I'll stop whining about that. All right, moving on. Starting on page 50, this is the combining statement on all of your non-major funds. These are not required schedules. This is, again, something that our firm adds in for the benefit of the court. This way, you can put your eyes on every single fund and every single dollar of the county and see how everything is working and operating. Nothing really to disclose to you. All of your non-major funds look like they're operating exactly like we want them to. Nothing unusual or untoward happening there. Page 56 is the combining statement on the fiduciary net position I've already alleged. But this way you can see by official who's holding on to what kind of dollars and what kind of cash. I actually lied. I didn't even mean to. I said Carrie had the lion's share of the official's money, and that's not true. It's your clerk. She's sitting at $533,000. Usually it's the tax assessor. But you can see again what officials are holding on to what dollars, and again, they really are treating their cash very, very respectfully in that they know and recognize the responsibility they have for it, and they are really doing a good job there. And that brings me to my conclusion on page 57. This is our report on internal control and compliance with laws and regulations. You did not engage us to assess your internal control structure. However, we are required as a matter of standard that if we note any significant deficiencies in internal control or material non-compliance with laws and regulations, that we have to bring them to your attention. And I'm pleased to say that there were no such issues. That does not mean your system is foolproof, as I alleged earlier. You could throw your entire operating budget at it and not achieve perfect internal control. It does not exist. What we are saying is that with the policies, procedures, and personnel that you have in place, should something material happen, we feel like it would be caught fairly quickly. And with that, I just tried to hit the highlights for you this morning. I tried to keep it somewhat lively so I didn't put the room to sleep. And I know I also speak very quickly. So are there any questions, concerns that I can address for you this morning?
John, got any questions?
Nope.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
You always,
I'm hoping to get here before June next year.
yeah.
Well, I did better. I was scheduled for June 14th. So that's better than last year by 2 weeks, but you're being very kind, ma'am. Thank you.
That's good. That's great. Thank
No,
you. We appreciate it.
we recognize the fact that on a September year in June's not ideal. And that's not our desire. That's not our wish. We are hoping to get here somewhat more timely next year, but we'll see what the years bring us.
Right.
That's all we can do.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, John.
Before I run off, as always, let me just thank you again. I do appreciate your time this morning. And we're not a firm just to come in at the end of the year and drive Mark crazy, although that's kind of fun. We're here year round to drive him crazy if you want us to. No, we are here year round though to assist in anything that we can. Anything that I can assist you in that doesn't kind of start bumping up against that independence line, I'm more than happy to help with. And it's always easier to dig things up or to handle things as they arise rather than dig them up 9 months later. So take advantage of that as often as you need to. Our philosophy is that phone calls are always free. We don't start our clock ticking until we have to go somewhere to repair something. So take advantage of that as often as y'all need to. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your time.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Good work, Mark. Kathy.
Not the big thing.
Good job. Carrie, y'all. Big money people. Appreciate y'all. Okay, item 11 is to consider and or approve appointment of interim library director. Chris, you want to offer us any advice on that? We've taken applications. Chris and Dwight are going to conduct the interviews for our new library director. And Tamara. Okay, so they are in charge of that. But in the interim, when we hired Tamara, well, that was actually before I got to the court. When Tamara was hired, they appointed Debbie Coffin as the interim library director to just kind of be the supervisor and make those decisions that needed to be made until we could get a library director. And I believe Chris has spoken with her. Have you spoken with her? And she's agreeable to that?
She has agreement. Usually when Tamara's out of town or something, that's the position she takes kind of unofficially. She kind of calls the shots there. So.
Right. So, and hopefully, it won't be too terribly long before we get a library director into play.
And she's done a good job in the past, right?
Yes, absolutely.
She does a really good job.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So.
So I make a motion we approve Debbie Coffin as the interim library director.
And I'll second it.
With what they do, Mark, last time, bump her salary up temporarily to the director's salary. Okay.
So add that in with
I think 186 a month.
More.
with the additional. So I need to add that with the additional increase in pay until the library director is
And what's that date gonna be? July 1st or?
for pay.
No, yeah.
When it starts.
July 1st, because Tamara's last day is the 30th.
Okay, July 1st. So we'll bump her up to Tamara's on July 1st.
Yes.
Hopefully
And I'll second that.
Yeah. have someone in place. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you.
I anticipate having somebody to
All right, item 12 is to consider and or approve the county dog ordinance. Sheriff, you want to speak to that? Yeah, sure.
First off, I want to thank you guys for voicing your opinions. Okay, and being here
Sorry,
today.
I've got to like
Yeah,
crap
you
down
do.
there on the floor.
Can I put this here? You okay with that?
There, yeah.
We got to work together. All of us need to work together for one goal. We're all on the same team here. You may not like me, you may not respect me. That's fine, but you have me for the next 3 years regardless. So I'm going to do everything that I can to work with everybody here and work with the public to do what I need to get done. I apologize I didn't answer your calls. I've been out of the office for the last 2 weeks on training at different places out of town. So nonetheless, we have a problem. We get constant complaints from citizens in the county, and it's only specific areas that these issues are really a big deal. So Lake Meredith Harbor is one of them. Sage Mesa is another one. And then the Fields Golf Course Edition. This is not politically correct, but it's commonly referred to as Little Mexico outside of border. So those are the main problem issues that we have. We have to do something. So I've gotten with our county attorney to come up with this county animal ordinance. Now, before I go into this is not a ordinance that we are wanting to be anal about. So we're not going to drive down the street. If you have your dog out running around, we're going to cite you. I know that's a concern of a lot of citizens, especially when it comes to farmers, agricultural areas. This is specifically for certain areas of the county that are problems. We have dogs running in packs. We have dogs that have had issues with rabies. Majority of it's in Fritch, but there have been people, including a reporter over here, that have been attacked by dogs in these areas. So at the current moment, we don't have any tools to take care of this. So we have to tell them, carry a stick with you or defend yourself or shoot the dog out there. And then we got to go deal with a discharge of a firearm. And that's never safe, especially if there's people around. So my only option that I have is to listen to people's complaints and come up with some sort of a solution to them. And this is the only thing in my power to come up with at this point. So what I'm trying to do is get a groundwork established to be able to at least at this point cite people for allowing their dogs to run at large. The issue that we have is there's people that allow their dogs to breed over and over again, and we have 4 or 5 different dogs from one household, and then they get out and they run around everywhere. There's no punishment for it. I can tell them to put their dog up. If they tell me to kick rocks, then I have to kick rocks. There's nothing that I can do about it. Right now, this will only establish a means for the deputies in the area and local law enforcement in the county to be able to cite people, and there will be some sort of repercussion for just basically allowing your dogs to do whatever they want. That does not pertain to certain areas such as yourself. That's not the problem. The problem is the dogs in these areas that are packing up and hurting people or killing other dogs. That's the issue that we have to deal with at this point. And this is what I'm wanting to get done. So this ordinance would allow deputies the power to be able to cite any owner that allows their dogs to run around. If we can identify the owner, this is only groundwork. Now, I've already talked to all 3 cities, Danette, Borger, and Fritch. Borger has sent me a spreadsheet of what they would charge to house animals in the Borger area. We brought them to them. Now, what they are wanting to do is we would have to designate one of our deputies as an animal control officer. It can be done, and they would have to euthanize the dogs that we bring in ourselves. That being said, I've also spoken with Danette. They provided me some prices as well and been willing to house our animals as well. Fritch is also willing to do it. They want a memorandum of understanding. I'm not going to go in and have a contract ready to go until we get the ordinance passed. We got to start somewhere. If we don't start somewhere, then we're not going to get anywhere. I have not budgeted anything for cost to house these animals yet because I wanted to present this first, get some input from you guys and see what you thought. At this point, whether this passes or not, I will work with the cities in the surrounding area to work on a budget, make a certain budget line item, and go from there. Determine what it would cost to take care of some of these issues that people are constantly complaining about. So, any questions?
So where did this resolution come from? What county?
Well, I don't specifically, I have one of our reserve deputies, Kayla Massengale, who's been a animal officer for quite a long time. She provided me a, basically something from another county. I don't remember what county. You also had one that we had found at the office that you had provided, a spreadsheet too, and I also took that in consideration as well. I submitted this stuff to our county attorney.
Well, yeah, I knew it. I mean, it is it's from Randall County. I didn't know if that was the county that it came from. So,
Yeah, we can just leave it like that.
yes.
And like I said, we don't have the time to go on everyone's county road and take their dog. That's not what this is for. This is for the specific areas. But to limit it to specific areas, it's going to take a lot more time. Like Meredith Harbor is a private area of the county. So if we're going to limit it to certain specific areas, and we're going to have to go meet with the populace there, and probably would be better to take it to a vote.
If you pick up a dog in say border city limits, they're still going to charge the county?
No, sir, we won't be handling anything in the city limits of any town.
Okay, so all
It's
of
just
it's
the county.
unincorporated.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, and at this time, I mean, it wouldn't be too difficult to get one of our deputies able to go out and do that. We might even be able to outsource to the local cities and see what they charge and pick a dog up. I don't foresee this being an overbearing problem, just some of the things that we need to take care of when we get complaints and we get calls in on things, we can do it.
So, go ahead.
Well, I know as being involved in city government, as long as I have, the dog problem in Fritch is a huge deal. And most of our kennels are always full, always.
Mhm.
And that's just within the incorporated jurisdiction of Fritch. And there's only 6 kennels in there. And we budget the city budgeted $1,000 per kennel. So that's $6,000 a year is what we budgeted. Even though we do charge fees and fines, we know that only 30% of those will actually be recouped.
Sure.
And so that means the taxpayers will take the rest of the 70% of those fines and fees. And not only that, but the manpower of we have a specific dog officer, if you will, animal control officer, and he spends most of his time picking up the dog, and then about 2 hours after picking up the dog, trying to find its owner.
Sure.
And so it is a very time-consuming process for just one man in the little town of Fritch. We do know specifically how cumbersome the outside the city Fritch, Sage Mesa and Lake Meredith Harbor dog population is, how much, because we get calls on that all the time, and they always want us to respond to that. So I'm not saying I'm against an ordinance. I'm just saying it is, we write ordinances so often that just are for books, and then we forget about them, because after a while it just takes too much focus. Just 2 years ago, we passed an ordinance for golf carts and no ATVs. Very adamant about that in Fritch, and a lot of people showed up. We wrote an ordinance, spent $2,500 to make the ordinance happen. Now, if you go on the city limits of Fritch, there's ATVs everywhere. So that was just 2 years ago, because it became a nuisance to enforce the ordinance. And so it was just a waste of our time and energy. However, I understand that you're wanting to put down a baseline to kind of do some kind of control. I'm just a little concerned that it's going to cost us more than we realize, and understand that it's really hard to make an ordinance without knowing, okay, how much are we going to pay these cities to house our animals that we collect?
Sure.
Because that can be kind of large. Next year it'd be about 30,000 or so.
Yes, sir. And that's one of those things you can't until you actually, I don't know how many dogs we're going to pick up in a year.
Right.
And so to get a baseline, I don't know how you can actually get a baseline from the county once you actually go to that point. Borders provided us prices, and that's also provided us the prices that they charge.
I've heard a lot of complaints about the dogs.
There's a
and
lot,
bitten.
and there's a lot of problems with people dumping dogs too.
Yeah.
And
Now,
just going out, especially like in
just the fine alone, I think, may stop some of it.
in golf course edition, that's the biggest complaint out there is people
Yeah.
coming out from somewhere else and dumping the dogs out there and they have to deal with them. Now,
I mean, I'm open to suggestions. If you guys have any other better ideas, we can do it. I'm completely open.
So, I mean, you said, I'm sure that I've worked on this since I've been in office with some of the other sheriffs, some of the deputies, because this is a problem. I don't disagree. This is a problem. We can't find a solution. For me, I'm not going to vote on an ordinance as a baseline until we get interlocal agreements, because I have the Randall animal ordinance. They voted on their animal ordinance 5 months after they had all the interlocal agreements in effect. So you know exactly who's handling what. They addressed issues about who's going to find the owners of these untagged dogs, the record management of dog bite victims. All that stuff is laid out, so we know exactly how much it's going to cost, exactly who's going to be responsible for stuff, way before we passed before they passed an ordinance. I've driven those areas, and the biggest problems I've seen are untagged dogs. Not owner-run dogs, but like Ben said, there are people from the city limits are taking dogs out there and dumping them and putting that burden on the county. So there's a lot of problems. I mean, we're gonna be punishing the taxpayers that are following the rules. For a fine that you mentioned, a Class C misdemeanor is not enforceable to pay. It's not enforceable by jail time. So there's people.
Actually, it is enforceable by jail time.
It's
Yes,
not
sir, it is.
enforceable by jail time unless they don't.
Unless they
fines.
default on
That's
their
a
fine or
completely
court cost.
different punishment.
Okay, well, they could still go to jail
there's
for
people
that.
in work. Well, that's the court cost, not the Class C misdemeanor. They can't go to jail.
Yes, they can.
There's people in Border that have 10 citations that have never paid those citations, and the only warrant that they have is the court. They haven't paid the fine, so that's a separate charge to the jail time.
Okay.
Correct? Is it not?
The only two Class C misdemeanors that you cannot be jailed for is open container and speeding in the state of Texas.
So they cannot face jail time for a Class C misdemeanor.
They can face jail time, yes.
So what?
Got them in there now.
So when you get a Class C misdemeanor and they don't pay the fine, or if they
If I get a Class C misdemeanor, I can jail them right there on the spot, whether they pay the fine or not.
On the spot.
So you're gonna arrest people for not having their dogs?
I think Sheriff Kemp was looking for the key, to be able to do it and be able to tell people that.
See, the problem is I can't come up with some kind of interlocal agreement or any prices until I go through the budget session and see what it's gonna cost to do it. And then we run into all these other issues of, well, what's it gonna cost? Can we afford it? And then, is it gonna be in the budget? And at that point, I'm doing all that I can at this position.
Well, it is a step toward getting to where we want to be. We got to do something about it. We can't just let the dogs go, just keep this going forever.
Mhm.
So this is a stepping stone to get to where it may have to be perfected, it may have to be changed as we go, but you got to do something.
I'll bend over backwards, work with you guys, whatever works. I'm just trying to get the citizens what they're asking for. And that's all that I'm asking for.
Well, I believe everyone on the court would agree there is a problem, and I definitely would say that. I feel like we could do the ordinance and, but then monitor it, and if it's not working, end it. I mean, literally,
Or
because
change it, meet what
modified
we
or
need.
something, because what's horrible is, I know, as you said, you're here as long as you want to be, or as long as the people elect you, but the next guy may decide later on with the ordinance that he's going after her with her leash law. I know with you, it's just starting something, but ordinances are something you really have to, again, I'm speaking from experience. You have to be really kind of work everything out and make sure that's something you want to do.
Yes, sir.
We moved all the campers and trailers off of the main street in Fritch because one person decided, hey, this is something I want to run with. That ordinance has been written since the 80s, but nobody's messed with it until one officer said, this is something I want to start finding people on.
Yes, sir.
So we didn't even know it was there until somebody decided now it is an issue after the 80s. So ordinances are important. And I do think as officials that we need to look into those before we just throw something out and say, we want to try it and see how it works. I'm okay with that as long as we don't forget about it. And then later on it becomes an issue. But
I don't think the public's gonna let us forget about it.
I hope they don't, because
No.
it is a huge problem.
Yeah, it is.
I've also
And-
had people in the city from the public that are against this because they don't want to pay these are areas that are getting county services without paying city taxes. And I've had several calls, and I know you got a call too, from a taxpayer in the city that doesn't want to pay more taxes to punish them for following the laws in the city for dogs that are outside of the county. So I mean, it's kind of a dual-edged sword.
Well, you think taxes are gonna go up because of
It's
that?
going to cost the county for sure.
Well, yeah,
Because the
but
problem is not going to be citing the owners of the dogs. The problem is going to be picking up dogs that are ownerless, and we're going to pay the full price for that. Because what we do is we're going to pick up an untagged dog, and the person's going to say that's not my dog, and we can't prove it unless we have identifying marks on it, or a chip, or a tag. Correct?
Yeah,
How
I mean,
many man
essentially,
hours would be invested in trying to find the owner of an untagged dog?
So who's going to be responsible for doing that?
well, that's one thing that we're gonna have to work out as well. Once again, I can't decide any of that until we have any budget money approved to do any of that, so.
So
I mean,
I
I
guess
can't-
what I'm trying to figure out is you need the ordinance to go ahead and
If
put the
they're-
budget. To
That
present
has
the
a,
budget.
that has a lot to do with it. This will give us a baseline to where we can cite the people that are blatantly doing it, because there are locations where we do know that these people have their dogs running out. And,
Like tag dogs?
well, not
Yeah.
even, we can still identify their owner even if they don't have the tags on them. My dogs don't have tags on them, but I,
Yeah, how?
if they go home and they eat the food they put out,
But they could say, those are not my dogs.
We have the one that was posted, Carissa, dogs came and ate her food that weren't her dogs. They came to her yard. So, I mean, in your own ordinance, it says they have to return to that property nine days in a row. How many? 9 days?
remember.
It says it's infer that the ownership is there for 9 days. So, I mean, I need to have an answer of how you're going to identify owners to cite. I mean, not just say that you know that they're the dog. That's not legal to say I know that the dog's.
Okay, well, if there's not an ordinance in place, then I can't pick up any dog
Well,
regardless.
it's not gonna cover
I mean,
everything. This
it
is
won't be
just for
against
the
the law at
known,
that
the
point.
known owners of certain dogs. So this is just one more tool to use. This
Well,
isn't gonna
yeah, it's
fix the
just a
whole
starting
problem.
place.
It's something to start.
Even in this position, if I have a vicious dog that runs around,
If you can't prove the owner,
regardless if I
then
have an owner
you
or
can't
not,
pick
if there's
up the
not an
dog.
ordinance in place, I
Or
don't
you
have any
can't
right
cite
to take
that
the dog
person.
in.
Even if he's vicious, you do, right? Bites.
I don't,
I know,
but if he
but
bites
If
somebody.
you can't decide who that person is, then you can't cite them.
Even in the case of the dog biting, we've had numerous dog owners that have several dogs, and we'll go and seize one dog for being aggressive, and then we'll still have 6 other dogs or 5 other dogs that we're still having to deal with for months on end, and we'll go and seize another dog. We've had several instances like that. So, I mean,
My only concern is I don't actually, I know this sounds, I do care about the policy. I'm not worried about the policy. I'm worried about how it's going to affect us financially. That's my only concern as commissioner. I'm not worried about the ordinance writing other than how will, because my worry and concern is 6 months down the road, we're like, we need $50,000. We need to do this now. We need to do that now. Those are the only concerns I have. You could write a policy that's 20 page long to cover everything. That's cool. I'm not going to really focus on that. It's just, how's it going to affect us financially? Right. So with that, I honestly think the ordinance is written well. My brain, I guess to kind of say with Chris, is I don't think we've thought it through completely financially from a financial aspect. Now, as far as ordinance goes and how we'll handle that, that's great. But how will it impact the county? That's yet to be seen. And I kind of disagree with you because I'm a businessman. I know every dot, every line, every T before I present anything to anybody. I want to know, even if it's just, I guess, educated research. I have to say, hey, this is what I think it's going to cost. This is what I'm estimating. Here's the money. When you talk to me, Dwight Kirksey, I want to know how much it's going to cost.
Sure, I
on
presented
everything.
I presented 2 spreadsheets with how much the cities are going to charge. But nonetheless, until we go a while knowing how many dogs we're picking up, there's not going to be a set number or an estimated number that I could even put out without any information or.
And I think you can always slow that down. You know,
If
say,
you don't
hey,
have
we can
the-
only afford to pick up so many dogs.
If you don't have the
You
money
get the
to
most
spend, you
aggressive.
can't spend it. So
Yeah, so that'd be easy number to come up with.
I mean, if you
As a
put
businessman.
$50, that's all you got. That's all you
If you're gonna
got.
say, hey, I'm only gonna do 30 dogs, then boom, here's the price. So that's easy.
If you run
So
out
I
of money,
would
you
say-
just quit. You can't do it.
I would say, from my only concern with this is the ordinance is good. I'm good with the ordinance. I just don't like passing ordinances that after a few months or just have no teeth with them because we get tired and we get busy and we get too exhausted. Every time an ATV drives around my alley, I just go $2,500. That's how much I spent on that blasted ordinance that is not being enforced. Every time I see those kids, I go $2,500 of city money. So that's all I'm saying. Ordinance is great. Good job on everybody doing it. I understand there's a problem, and I understand it because it's in my backyard, literally.
Yes, sir.
I have 3 dogs in my backyard probably this morning that are not anybody's.
Yes, sir.
They say. And so I totally understand that.
Yes, sir.
So, Sheriff, like right now, about how much time are your officers spending on calls?
Sometimes we go a couple days without taking a call. As an experience as a deputy, I've done that before. I mean, we're always going to have calls regardless. We get dog calls regardless to go out to check the areas. But we can't do anything about it.
So tell me what happened. You're gonna get a call if we pass this. Tell me, you're gonna get a call and you're gonna show up to an untagged dog. What's gonna happen?
It depends on the circumstances of the location and everything else.
Well, tell me a couple of circumstances. Like if it's an
Like
unmarked,
it's down in the
untagged
golf
dog
course
in
edition.
rural Mexico.
Well, we'll try to find the owner of it. I mean, we can canvass the area, speak to the local neighbors, and see if they know whose dog it is. It's not that difficult to do that. Takes maybe 10 minutes to do that,
And then when they say it's not my dog, what's gonna happen?
and then we'll just continue and go from that point.
Well, I mean, what are you gonna do with the dog?
Well,
You're gonna take it into the border pound?
if we can get the stuff worked out, yes.
And then if we don't find an owner, that's basically $100 on our budget that we have to spend per dog.
Depending on, well, and we won't keep them very long till we euthanize it. I'm gonna fix them up.
After 10 days.
I don't know what the specific.
Is that,
will be.
do they have to keep them 10 days?
That's what the ordinance says. I mean, are you-
Okay.
Is that right?
Yes,
I mean,
it says,
I
it
think
says
the
minimum
law
of
says
5,
that.
and then after 5, I mean, are you guys familiar with the ordinance?
Yes, sir, we're familiar with the ordinance.
Well, I mean,
I know what you're
I
saying,
know
sir.
you think I don't like you and you're offensive. Me and Coker butted heads. There's gonna be hard questions when we have.
Yeah, well, it's every time I come to commissioner's court that this happens, so I just expect it.
Well, it's not, well, it's about this ordinance. I mean, so we need to work as a team. I agree. And I've worked on this with the other sheriffs. So what I'm saying, I'm just asking questions. When you go to a call and there's an untagged dog, if you can't find the owner, that $100 is gonna be on the county. I mean, I'm not disagreeing that there's a problem, or I'm not saying that I'm against you. I'm just we get questions about the tax money. That we're accountable for and that all my questions for you about the drug dog and about the cars were all about tax money. It's not I voted for those things because your policies, I stated what I'm concerned about as a commissioner. I support you fully, Sheriff. I'm gonna have questions about these things when it comes to my taxpayers.
Sure.
And we have to have that respect.
Sure.
Me and Coker butted heads, me and Efren disagree on things. I don't dislike it. I know you think I do, and I don't dislike the comp time thing. That is an issue we need to discuss. It's not, I've never once.
Well, and I
disrespected
don't want to bring up adding another deputy at this point because I don't think it's necessary.
you.
But in the
We'll
future,
talk about it.
I'm sure in the future that can be something, but
I just want to, between you and me, these are just hard questions I have. It's not personal.
yeah.
It's
Well,
not-
no matter
hang,
where.
hang on here a minute. Just recently in another meeting, I asked some questions about money too. You said we need to trust our people.
We do, that's why. I voted
Okay.
for these things, so.
I ask questions, you ask questions, but let's not go in attack mode. Okay,
Have I
this,
attacked you just then? I'm telling you
No,
that
sir.
I'm-
I just want to get this business taken care of so we can go about my day.
So
I'm not attacking you, I'm trying to
can
get
I-
on the team.
can
That's
I
what I'm
bring
saying.
I understand that some of the things, if y'all want to have a discussion afterwards to.
yeah, I don't think that
So-
belongs here.
Anyway, back to the ordinance. I really feel like, I think y'all have done a great job, and I honestly would love to see more money presented, like how much this will cost, or how much it won't cost, or how much something. I'd like to see some financials with it. However, I know that you want to start something, and just to see how it goes, I would, if it passes today, I would like to keep in the forefront the idea of we can try it, and if it doesn't work, we end it or we modify it, and not let it just slip away to something. I kind of believe at some level that this is it's a problem, but I think there are larger problems in the county right now than dogs. I understand, and again, I'm talking about my home area. So I believe there's something more about this ordinance that seems so big. Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes.
One of our issues is, and I'm not bad mouthing the city board or the city of Stinnett or the city of Fritch, by no means. Our issue is that when we end up in situations where we have an animal that something has to be done with, the problem we run into is the city of Warder cannot take it. The city of Fritch cannot take it. The city of Stinnett cannot take it. An example, a man found, I think 10 puppies on the side of the road one day, and we were called for that. We don't have the facilities to house any animals. And when the city pounds are refusing to take them, what do? We have no place to put these animals.
Yeah.
And just an example is, I got something, 14 dogs running loose in Lake Meredith Harbor here about 6 months ago. I dealt with that, and if it wasn't for these organizations like these folks right here, Gracie's Project, Babies Pit Bulls, we had no place. And the problem is they were packing up and they were chasing people that were coming down the road in golf carts or bicycles. So I contacted the SPCA and left, I think, 3 messages with those people, and they never, ever called me back. I was put on, I talked to you, Ms. Prop.
And we fixed that.
Yes, Gracie's Project, I think, this lady here, if we did not have these folks here that were willing to take these animals, nothing would have been done. This pack of dogs would have continued to roam until they bit someone. And in a pack mentality, God forbid if it's a child down the road, because once these dogs in a pack mentality get hold of a child, and I've seen cases like this, where these kids are mauled almost to the point of death, because these dogs get involved in it. It's like, what do? So I know that in Hardin County, we entered, or the sheriff there, at minimum entered some sort of agreement with the cities on, they would give us some pricing on how much, if in a situation where we had a dog, we've got to do something with it, we can't leave it there. They would at least take it for us. And most of them were reasonable in their pricing as far as food, at least until something can be done with the dog. So definitely kudos to these organizations, because if we didn't have them, there are times that we had nothing, because the cities, for some reason, I know that sometimes it could be that they're overpopulated. What do we do? But what do we do?
So,
and if for some reason they couldn't take them, it's like, you can do nothing. What do?
Q, I do have a question. I was going to ask that question. You said 14 dogs. Border only allows 3 with possible 5 if we have it. So if they can only take 3, what do we do with the other 11?
Well, if nothing, what can we do? We have no place to put them.
Well, I'm saying after this ordinance, and that, I mean, they're against it, so I don't know I don't know if they're going to help. But so we have 14 dogs. I mean, that's my question. I just want this question answered about an untagged dog, and then 14 dogs. We have 3 that go into Borger. There's 11 more. I mean, what do we?
We pick which 3.
We're capped at
unless
shelters.
you can find the owner. But in this situation, we knew who the owner was. He admitted that he is. I do believe that if we could have at least threatened him with 14 citations, where it's going to hit him in his pocketbook, he probably would have taken a little bit more serious. I would at least some sort of maybe an agreement with the cities that if we are put in a situation where we have to take the dog, we've got some place to put it.
And that's why I can't vote for this ordinance until we have those interlocal agreements to know exactly who's going to cover what. I'm not against this ordinance. I'm trying to work on this for years, and I learned from you guys. I mean, I was told in previous that these citations weren't jail enforceable, so I'm always open to open things. I didn't know that that was enforceable, so. I mean, that does have more teeth.
So Stinnett and Frick said until the ordinance gets passed, we can't get money from them, or
Now,
contract, I guess.
Stinnett.
Interlocal
Stinnett
agreement.
So far has been, is one of the dogs that these ladies help with. I contacted the city manager of Stinnett because Borger said they didn't have room.
Well,
Or,
they said they didn't have room, but it was, a lot of the time that gets dealt with, when it's out in the county, it's not their problem too.
And this is another reason why I want those interlocal agreements, because if we don't have this before the ordinance, they can rewrite it and say at their discretion, and we call them and say, hey, we need it, and they're like, sorry, we don't have any cameras, because Borger's completely full right now.
but we
They
were
have one
until
camera,
some sort
one
of,
So
camera today.
until we get the
Yeah,
interlocal
that's the
agreement
dog
that
I'm taking.
says,
That's the dog
we
she's.
guarantee you guys have this many kennels. I don't want to get a thing where we have an ordinance, we get called to a dog bite, untagged dog that we have to pick up, that you're not gonna find the owner. Because that's what I do know, Border runs into that all the time. They say, well, that's not my owner, or that's not my dog. And they put it down, that's all on the taxpayers, they can't do anything about it. We get that dog and we call them and say, hey, well, we can't have him. We don't have that interlocal agreement that says you have to provide us 1 or 2 spaces.
well, see, that
That's-
was another
that's mine.
reason we was trying to enter an agreement too, is, you know, God forbid, a deputy responds to a house in the county where the owner has died, and they have animals, and you have no one to get hold of, or, you know, an arrest is made on the side of the road, and they have an animal. We need someplace to put these dogs.
Well, that's also why I want that interlocal agreement to say, like, we're guaranteed this many spots. Because the way it's worded now, I mean, if we don't have that, we can always change it and say at their discretion, because I don't have anything specific. I don't want to run into that where we need something and we don't have it.
I was just-
I don't want you guys to hear that I'm against this ordinance at all, because I'm for this, and that's been a problem. I've talked with you too. This is
Right,
an
you're the
issue.
one that actually sent a copy of it to us.
Right, I mean, this is the issue I've tried to look, because I didn't have the law enforcement thing, so I mean, you guys have that knowledge. It's a definite problem. I just want to protect us and our taxpayers from, that's my job as commissioners, protect the taxpayers and you guys. To have the interlocal agreement where something like this call doesn't happen, where it's alleged, I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but if he was helping them load the dogs into the van, that's a lawsuit for us if that wasn't properly followed. I mean, I want the interlocal agreements and the procedures in effect to protect you guys too, and your office, your deputies.
Well, Stinnett doesn't have an animal control officer. Either, it's maintenance guys.
That's just.
Do we do it in the city? Do it in the city manager?
Are they getting, because they haven't had one since Carlos left.
Yeah, the city manager, and that's just animals.
Okay, because that would be nice, because I mean, they were literally, they had a male and a female house together
Right,
out there, and that should have never happened.
that's just to be changed.
Yeah, okay, because it's been a while. But they're paying Jock Lee right now $60 a dog to use the home.
But I do believe sometimes though, like with our gentleman with 14 dogs admitted they were his and he was not complying. Maybe being able to hit him with some citations may have motivated him.
But he couldn't have paid him,
But
he was living in a camper.
But if you don't pay the
He has
citation,
no
the
money.
courts, but the courts will, if you don't pay that citation, eventually a warrant's going to be issued
Yeah,
and they go.
but then that still doesn't pay for the dogs that are staying in animal control. It doesn't pay
Right.
for their bedding, their euthanasia, their food.
Right.
That guy couldn't have paid, he didn't have nothing.
So in essence, unless we have a county-wide, unless we have a county dog shelter, none of this is gonna work.
I was kind of hoping that's what y'all were going to say,
Well,
but
That's
it's
the
not what I
way
heard.
that it's turning out to be, so.
Being able
I
to
presented
decide.
everything I want to present.
I would think that most of this would boil down to compliance. Like,
So why can't we,
the threat is there, so people
Ms.
will
Brock,
comply.
Ms. Brock, if we could, why couldn't we, try it? And if it and give it a deadline, like 6 months, and it doesn't work out, y'all just come and tell us, hey, we tried it, it didn't work, and we move on. I mean, my thing is, I would hate in 6 months that you come and ask for $50,000 that wasn't budgeted. So
Does it make sense?
Where are we gonna pay for it now? We have 3 more months of this budget year. Where's that money?
Well, it's not budgeted at all this year.
Yeah.
But we need the right to cite people that do let their dogs run loose. And
Is there anything
we're not in
illegal that
animal
would keep us
control.
from
We're not
trying
in
it?
animal control.
And we don't need
We
kennels.
don't
No.
need animal control,
Uh,
but we do need the right to cite people to let their dogs run free. That's
What
not
if-
gonna
what
fix
if
the
we,
stray
dogs.
dogs.
What if we just issue the citations and don't pick up any dogs?
You can do that.
We can do that.
So-
That just
I mean-
leaves us with instances.
I mean,
What are the percentages? I have two questions. Once again, what is gonna happen to a dog that is untagged when you get on these calls? I just need that answer.
Well,
same
one-
thing you run into now. You can't do anything. You can't do anything to
Have
them.
you
Pick
driven
them up,
through these areas?
take them in.
Have you driven through these areas? 90% of these dogs are untagged.
Yes, I do go through these areas, as a matter of fact.
90% of these dogs are untagged, so that is the problem. It's not citing the owners. That's why I just wanted to answer that question.
Well, you're not gonna take the dog unless it's bitten someone or like it's been injured. I mean, there is no leash law, so we can't just load the dog if it's running loose, whether we know to do it.
No, I'm saying
But if
after
there
this,
was a
if we
leash
pass this
law-
ordinance, what is gonna happen to an untagged dog?
Like, if you don't know who the owner is,
The same
Somebody-
thing happens
So you
now.
want- you go
Nothing.
out there and you say,
Nothing's happening now.
Somebody's got to be
unless it's
feeding them.
bitten.
Somebody's
So
got
how
to
is that
be.
gonna solve the problem of, I mean, there's a dozen in Little Mexico that have no tags.
Well, I think what he was saying was, the whole point behind the ordinance is to give some teeth when we know who the owner is, like the 14 dogs, and we can at least cite this individual to make them responsible for it. The other ones, we don't have the manpower to load every dog that's running loose in a neighborhood.
And that's not what-
I agree with what you're saying completely. This isn't for everything. It's not gonna fix everything. It's only gonna fix certain areas.
The only thing that we can
Well, it's not
enforce currently is their rabies, to see if they actually have the rabies shots. That's
It's just one more tool to help with a big problem, but it's not gonna fix the whole problem by no means.
So in your opinion, this is gonna help the owners keep their dogs up, but do you think it's gonna fix the problem of at-large dogs in Little Mexico that are untagged? That's an honest opinion. You don't think that's gonna do it?
Not until we get the contracts in place and get the people to come pick them up.
All right, so this is gonna be word of mouth. If we pass this ordinance, you guys are not gonna pick up any untagged dogs.
we're not gonna be out looking for specifically for an untagged dog.
Okay. And so also, if this ordinance passes, what's the timeline you're gonna give people to put a proper fence up? What is the effective date that you're gonna start citing people without?
Can't force someone to put a fence up or not. They can keep
It's
their
not
dog
up
in.
to, that's up to
on
the
a leash.
owner. If
Well,
their
that's-
dog is off the property, they get a ticket. If they wanna fence it, that's
Now,
up to
In
them.
this ordinance, an at-large dog.
There's two separate issues here, guys, and I don't mean to be redundant. The issue that I'm addressing today is the dog ordinance. The other issue, to enforce some of it, as in picking up dogs, would have to be, as we have talked about, there would have to be some stuff in place with the surrounding cities, which I've already done some of the legwork on that. And I can continue to follow up with that and present that at a later date, whether that be next budget year or before this budget comes into play. If there's a grace period, this is my first time being sheriff. I don't know. Nonetheless, I will do whatever I can to work with everybody to get it done.
So I have
So-
a question. So you said, until we can get someone out there to pick up the dog, so you're saying that like Fritch or Stinnett or Border, if we have the interlocal agreement, they'll come pick up the dog?
That's a good possibility, or we can get one of our vehicles, put a cage in it, certify one of our deputies.
we
It's not gonna
don't-
cost much.
We
and they
don't
can
have
get it.
them caged or an animal. We don't have the means to do that.
Not right now. It wouldn't take very much to do that.
So are you guys willing to, for me, would you be, if this doesn't pass, would you be willing to rewrite an ordinance that only has the citation aspect? Because in your ordinance, it talks about a dog can be on somebody's property, but it has to be within a proper restraint or fence, or they're at risk. It's not just the dog leaving the property. They have to be on the property in a fence or on a tether. And so would you guys, I mean, that,
What would the
That
purpose
needs-
of be rewriting us an ordinance for citation only? What would the offense be?
class C misdemeanor.
That's the level of offense. What is the specific offense that would be
Like
writing
dog at
citation
Dog at
for?
large portion of
So
your.
it's the same. It's the same. What
But
the
we're
elements
also-
of the offense for a dog at large would be the same elements that are in that ordinance already.
Yeah, but we're also, if we pass this ordinance, we're also passing that every person who has their dog on their property, if it's not properly fenced, like she was mentioning, like barbed wire, they're not.
Well,
paying.
we can't pick and choose who we're going to enforce the law. Let me rephrase that. We
Well,
can't
yeah,
pick and,
that's- I didn't know.
we can't pick and choose. It's got to be blanketed across the board. We can't pick and choose specific unless we had specific agreements in place for specific areas.
That's what I'm saying. If you're only wanting the citation aspect, then why are we voting on the picking up the untagged dogs? And I mean, there's so much more in this ordinance that would be passing on top of the citation that if the.
Like
I was not
impounding
just
the
presenting
dogs.
I was not just presenting the citation aspect. I was presenting the whole thing.
Well, that's why I have a problem. I'm saying your ordinance, if we pass it today, tonight, somebody who has a bar, she's in violation because she has a bar fence. Even if her dogs never leave her property, she's in violation. And you can legally go onto her property and take her dog.
In essence, according to that, yes.
They have to be tethered, or they have to have, in essence, that is what it says. That's
I mean,
why I'm
that's-
asking, would you be willing to rewrite it to only citation if you're not wanting to mess with the untagged dogs? Because if we pass this and it doesn't work, you guys are gonna look bad.
But I don't understand what you
Because
mean by only citation. That doesn't
The
make any
citation
sense.
aspect of the registered owned dog, you can prove, it is class B misdemeanor.
Right,
or
and
class
not
C
pick the
misdemeanor.
dogs up and impound
The
them.
rest of the ordinance, it's 3 pages long of untagged dogs and other stuff. Just take, the ordinance that we vote on is only citing the dogs you can prove have registration and owners, and go from that. Because if we pass this ordinance and in 6 months it doesn't work, we're all gonna look bad, because it's not gonna work. If you don't think, in your opinion, that the untagged dog problem is gonna work, we need to take that out and focus on the citing of the owners and punish them and try to fix what we can, to where if we're not punishing the other taxpayers because we're not paying the shelters. We're getting those cited and they fix it or they go to jail, and that it only punishes them. You see what I'm saying?
Well, there's no one to punish if you can't find an owner anyways.
That's what I'm saying.
Devil's advocate question.
Yes.
So if I have an untagged dog that's trying to bite me out in the county, what do they do?
That's what I asked them.
No, but what are they supposed to do if they don't have the ordinance? That's what I'm asking.
They can't do
I mean,
anything.
and I would add something else too. I think everybody's kind of expecting this is gonna be an everyday deal. They've called me twice since I've been in office about these things. And I know that it happens more than that, but everybody in law enforcement, every single day that they work uses discretion. Okay? They're not gonna be going, they don't wanna go out and pick up all these dogs.
No.
If they go out and they have like 10 puppies, they're gonna call Sharon or Lori or one of these organizations and they're gonna end up helping. But there's these situations where you got.
Probably not anymore.
I mean,
Not after the
Well,
past
somebody
month.
is, somebody is.
Yeah, and
Somebody's
not,
going
and
to.
probably not Mud Hut.
But when people call from Lake Merritt Harbor and say, there's this dog that's trying to bite everybody that walks down this road, they don't have any tool to take care of it.
Correct.
They can shoot it.
That is correct.
If you'd like
There's
to, we
nothing
could go
you
out and
could
shoot
do.
every dog.
I guess
But then,
that's what's been
but then all the
happening
bleeding
already.
hearts are gonna get
What have you
online
done?
and
Is
crucify
that
us.
So you haven't
common
done
for y'all to
anything
shoot
for them, right?
dogs?
Right
Because
now?
what have y'all been doing the past?
So if we know that dog actually bit someone,
You
we'll
take
get a hold of somebody to take it to custody. And normally the cities have at least come.
But it has
out
to
with
bite first.
It has to be deemed dangerous.
Yeah, we have.
But that, so you do have, I mean, you don't just say we can't do anything right now. You
No,
do.
if it bites someone,
Do you
we
have
have
power?
power to get a hold of that dog.
Yeah.
Point is, it's trying to avoid the actual bite.
So I don't have a problem with the ordinance, and I could pass it today, but I just want everyone to know I will be watching the finances regarding this, the fees, the all that. That's my job. So the ordinance doesn't bother me. And like I said, we've been in all 9 years of being in city government, dogs was talked about every month in Fritch, Texas. So I know it's a discussion that always happens, and we never came up with a viable solution. And we just said $6,000 a year is what we'll eat as a city.
I
And
don't
that's what
think
we
this
do.
is something that's going to be used every day. It's not an all-time thing. But when you really need it, you need it. You need an ordinance that you do have some control. And right now we have nothing. So, but as far as using all the time, no, I don't think that's going to happen. It's not an everyday thing. It's just one more tool to help a little bit. It's just a small little piece of this.
And thank y'all for your time.
Okay. Does anybody have any more questions for the sheriff or Andy or? in regards to the ordinance? Any further discussion? Any motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the dog ordinance as stated.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
We start keeping do y'all keep logs of the amount of the calls? Now that we passed it, I think y'all are gonna get quite a few.
But normally, when they do like a call for service, they will have system.
Okay. Thank you. I do appreciate y'all's work.
Yes, I definitely think this is a huge issue. But I just need more information. So good luck with that. We'll see where it takes us. Thanks. Okay, let's see, where are we at? Oh, item 13. Consider and/or approve health insurance renewal for 2021, 2022. Thanks for coming, y'all. We appreciate it.
It's interesting.
Okay, where are we at with health insurance? Okay, so we have anything new that you need to add, Kathy, on the health insurance?
I don't think so. Only thing is, I kind of, not only do we need to decide about the employees, but we need to decide about, right now, on the retirees under
Retirees.
65, we pay 53.10%. And we need to decide on them if you're going to have them take their increase, or if the county's gonna take some of it, or any of it, or if they're gonna continue with the 53.10, or if they're gonna say, no, you pick up the whole $45, $50. So,
Right.
I sent those sheets out to y'all, and then, and of course, this sheet, the increase on this sheet represents changing the deductibles, okay? Raising the HSA 1,000 to 5,000, and then raising the copay from 15 to 2,500, and then also raising the office visit copay from 35 to 40, specialist 45 to 50.
All of the increases have those numbers built in already.
Okay. And then, of course, the one that Charlotte presented to y'all, this other one, her only difference in mine, my sheet here shows the county picking up the employees increase and the employee picking up the dependent increase. Now on Charlotte's, she's got the county picking up the employee increase, but she's also got them picking up a few dollars on the dependents. I don't have a clue really how she came up with that, to tell you the truth, because there's not much rhyme or reason in $5 or $6 more than what that's what mine is, $5 or $6 more. But so I guess the main thing is you need to decide who's going to pay the increase. If you're going to go with the higher deductibles, if you're going to change those deductibles to get away from that 12% increase, because if not, you're going to have 12% increase. It's going to cost you $140,000, $50,000, unless you have the employee pick that up.
So I was just, we've talked about it for a little over a month, and I agree that my take is that we go to the higher deductible, but not pick up the what your report shows, not pick up the beneficiaries.
The increase for anyone but the
Yes.
employee.
The
Just the
dependents pay
increase.
their own increase.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, yeah,
Yes,
I agree.
just the employee increase, and then and the same with the retirees. I know I may get stoned by a few that's watching that are my friends, but I feel like they would do the $35, $40
That
themselves.
makes pick up all of it or stay with the same percentage? We're what? The
The same
retirees, we pay what
Right
percent?
now, the retirees, yeah, we pay
53.10.
Yeah, okay, 53.10.
Yes.
So you would have an increase in about, let me see, for if the county left it at 53.10, then it's gonna cost the county about, 25, 26 more on their portion that they pay. Or you could have the retiree pick up the increase, and their increase is gonna be, we have 3 on the HSA, it's gonna be 5504 a month. We have our other 7 or 8 or whatever it is on the copay part, and it's gonna be 4570 a month.
I don't know, how did we come up with this 53 point some percent for retirees? I don't know, but I don't know where that
Because we
comes
have
from.
been
Yeah.
all over the board
Yeah.
for,
With
you know,
insurance.
we've paid 50, we started, then one year the court wanted to pick up a little bit, and then next year they didn't, and then they did, and they didn't, and, you know, so we're at 53.10. That's all I know.
Whatever.
Why? So how do we motion that, or, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, my opinion is Kathy's side with the high deductible plans and the retiree picks up all of the
Yes.
their increases.
That's what I like too.
The retiree and the dependents.
Dependents, retirees too?
So the county's gonna pay the increase on employees only.
Right.
And you know, these
With the higher deductible.
retirees we're talking about is 65 and under.
Right.
Now, our people that are 65 and over, we have about 11, I think, of those. And we have a little supplement plan they can stay on.
Yeah.
And the county pays about $80, I think, and then they pay the other 80. So it's pretty half on that
Yes.
thing.
And that's forever, or how long? Is that,
Forever.
that just,
They want to.
as long as you want it?
Yeah, as long as you want it, you know. We, the only thing about that plan is compared to the Medicare supplement plans, this one has a $500 deductible a year. But like I said, we have 11 or 12, 13 that, you know, are on it at times. And it does not cover any type of prescriptions or anything. We chose not to get into that.
As long as they want it, or we do away with it.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
right.
there are counties that are doing away with that option.
Yeah, some of the counties, well, what they're doing away with, they're doing away with that 65 and up, under.
Yeah.
Not so much the 65 and over, I don't know about, but there are some counties that got into the retirees a few years ago. Well, then they started going, oh, this is costing us quite a bit more money, you know? And so they decided now they're wanting to get out of it, you know? And they can get out of it, you know? I mean, all you do is say, we're not gonna pay your insurance anymore. You're gonna pay it, but, I mean, it's kind of like here, you know? You say that to us, then that's what we're gonna do. So, I don't really think there's any way to not do this higher deductible because I don't think we can continue to take a 8, 10, 12% increase.
12.
Yeah. And that's what, you know, from my treasurer's meeting a couple of weeks ago, a lot of them had an 8, 9, 10% increase. There was a few that had a little bit lower, but their claims are lower. You know, when we're paying out more, when Blue Cross is paying out more in premiums than, or in claims than we're paying in premiums, that's when they're gonna.
Well, there's no reward for the employees that are not using it all the time, you know?
No, there's not.
Yeah.
Other
And-
than health.
Do what?
Health.
Yeah, that's
Good
right.
health.
Yeah, we're healthy.
Well,
and I
yeah.
use it, so, yeah, thank goodness.
Well, I'm not saying you can always help it, but
Yeah,
You ate a cheeseburger,
yeah, that's right.
too many of them.
You
We
know,
do have a lot of people that could invest in their own wellness. We have a wellness program.
yeah, we do.
No eye contact.
We do.
Don't look me in the eye.
You know, it's just one of those things. We used to be, you know, I remember the day when our claims, I mean, we were, instead of at 116% on our loss ratio, we were at 30%. Well, we had lots of good years there, and we went on self-funding. So that was where we paid the claims. They had a 30,000 deductible, and everything above that, you know, we paid. Oh my goodness, it didn't take any time at all, and we were sunk. I mean, it just started in. We had to get out of that, you know.
Well, insurance companies are not in business to lose money.
No, they're not, you know. And, you know, of course, right now, our employees, they don't pay that much on their insurance, but like me, I'm going to retire and I'm going to pay. I'm going to pay on insurance because you're going to pay your Medicare premium. You're going to pay your supplement. They're not going to go till the end of their life without paying.
So what, how do you name it? Is there a name for this plan that Chris just talked about?
Yes, there is.
So that we can motion
Yeah.
the Kathy plan,
The
part
plan.
C.
No, we got another plan here.
Okay.
Okay. So the plan for the, let me see, for the co-insurance part of it is called, well, on their sheet, on Blue Cross's, it's called option 2. So we can name it that. And it's really got, you can do this too, Jan. 1500 NGS. This one right here. Yeah. That last one there. Okay. And then on our HSA plan, it's called Base Plan Alternate. And it'll go if you have a 4,000 now, of course, it'll go to 5,000. Yeah.
Okay, so, okay, you say that as I say it. I also move for option 2, 1500 NGS, and then the HSA base plan alternative, where the county covers the employee only increase, and the employee covers the dependents, and the retirees covers increase.
I think you got that.
Yeah,
I believe you got it.
Okay, we have a motion and second on the insurance. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Okay.
And then what I'll do is probably about the middle of June, I'll send out letters to the employees, letting them know their breakdown, what it's going to cost for the copay, the HSA, and then we will have open enrollment on August the 1st through the end of August. Okay, so 30 days we're going to have open enrollment. That is when they have the chance to either get off the insurance, get on the insurance.
Switch insurances
Yeah,
from
switch-
copay to
Switch your
HSA.
plans, you know, and stuff. They have the chance to do that. And then Charlotte is coming on, I think it's August the 10th and the 12th. Her and another person that works up there, Gary. And they will meet with our employees. Those employees need to come and listen, okay? Because from one year to the next, they forget what the HSA and what the copay is. So they need to come to those meetings and listen to them. And then they'll, if they want to make a change, they can make a change, okay? And we'll have several meetings for both days. That way it'll be in both locations, so it'll be optional for them, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
Kathy,
Okay.
for all your
Thanks,
work on
Kathy.
that. Appreciate it. Okay, item 14 is to consider and or approve the county attorney copier agreement. Craig? Okay, yes, I will. Oh, here, wait, give me one more. Yeah.
So I have some good news and some bad news. The bad news first is my office is spending a lot of money on something. I've looked at that and I kind of went back historically to look, and we've been doing that for a while. There's some good news. The first part of the good news is that we're going to try to go to a lot of paperless applications with our court interactions. It's kind of like a battleship. It's a little hard. It takes a while to turn it. And Jan will be a part of that, and Judge will be a part of that, as far as trying to use DocuSign and do some other things that prevents us from killing trees every day.
Yay.
So I expect that to help. But I want to stop the bleeding immediately. And so I started looking into the possibility of a copier instead of having several laser printers that are kind of bleeding our budget. And so I've got this estimate, or I've got this bid for a copier. First page probably isn't a lot of details that you want to know, but this is going to be able to do what we need it to. On the second page, I've got a proposal, and that'll be $169.23 per month. And that'll include 40,000 prints, which is way more than we'll ever need, but that's just how they priced it. They said, here's the deal. The only hiccup is I'm still on the tail end of negotiating between two companies, and I may be able to get this down. What I'd like to do is see if the court would approve the contract up to this amount, and then I can work that out. With regard to the contract, I'll be handling that anyway, so I didn't know that y'all were going to read through the contract. But as far as the expenditure, that's what we're asking for.
So no more than 169 a month?
Correct, and there won't be any tax, and that's a flat rate, so we'll pay that every month. That's comparable with other offices in the county that have similar machines.
Now with this, I know with some Xerox companies, you are sign a 5-year lease, and then after a while you own the machine. Well, is that in this contract?
It will have an option to buy at a reduced price. I'm not really factoring that in because I'm not interested really in doing that. I'd rather just stay on lease.
Okay.
That's been my experience in
I love
private
leases,
practice.
yeah.
So that's what I do.
That's the only way I go.
And do the maintenance agreement and everything. But
And they'll do all the free maintenance, as you said.
Yeah.
They'll do.
Right.
You call them, anything goes crazy.
they'll provide all the color.
Perfect.
One thing we provide is the paper.
Yeah.
So another thing I would add is in my proposed budget for next year, I reduced my office supplies and I added a copier expense line. And then I took 1,000 out of my miscellaneous line item, which almost evened it up. But I actually put 2,500 in there for copier, and it's actually going to be about 2,000. It might be even less if I can get this down.
Yeah.
So my proposed budget may be 150 over last year, something like that. Just because of, but the truth of it is we budgeted amount for office supplies and it's been blown.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been just an imaginary number anyway. So now we're getting back to what it's actually going to be. I think is going to be the budget this year, and there may be some fluctuation there, but I think we're pretty close to where we're going to be.
Talking my language.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
So when are you hoping to get the contract on? When are you gonna?
I'm going to do it immediately. I mean, I'm going to do it this week.
So if you don't get it from the other company, the lower price.
Yeah, then I'll do this. Right.
So will this start, I mean, if you get a contract in place with one of the two companies, are you saying you're going to start that now?
Yeah, and that was another thing I was going to say is I was going to wait until next budget year, but we're just going to bleed money till then on ink. I'd rather go ahead and and that's why I'm presenting it now. I'd rather get it now and then we start saving.
Can I ask you a question that really, I mean, I'm all for this. How does the county have a contract with Xerox as a whole?
No, every office individually contracts. I've already, I think, done 2 or 3 contracts
We
since the
have
first of the year.
one big copy machine at the annex that most of the offices use for big prints.
So as far as the county, because the bigger the cell, the cheaper it is.
Right, right.
But anyway, that's
Yeah, I
not
think
that's not your
It's
place.
just
but-
been
yeah.
done piecemeal. I don't know what the rhyme or reason was, but
Because that'd be really cool if every department did that, but we'd
Sure.
get it for $50 a
kind of
month.
like the internet service.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want everybody doing it separately.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's
All
just-
right. Anyway, I was just chasing a rabbit for fun.
Okay. I'm glad you're chasing.
Thank you. It was enjoyable. Well, I move to approve the entering into the contract for $170 a month.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for a copy lease agreement for not more than 170 a month, hopefully. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, Item 15 on our agenda is to go into executive session for consultation with attorney. And so we're just going to ask everyone to step out at this time, and then we'll reconvene. We'll holler at everybody when it's time to come back in. Let me get back to my minutes.
This one makes my posture a little better anyway. I was watching them video.
You're going back over there.
I'll have to suck in my gut.
You sure you can do
I don't know. I may if I pass out in a minute.
We went in at 11:21 and it came out at 11:40. Okay. So we will go on into item 16, which is to consider and or approve action necessary from the executive session.
So
We have a
what's
motion?
Go ahead.
I move that we approve the permit between the license agreement between the county and Brian Wagner with a $50 administration fee,
it? Minimum fee.
minimum, well, $50 fee.
For that one.
Subject to,
Subject to preparation and approval of a new agreement.
And I second that.
okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right. Sorry that y'all just sit down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then our next item is to convene for an executive session in regards to personnel matters. So y'all are gonna have to leave again, sorry.
Let me just promise not to listen.
Jack in the Box.
Can I just sit here and promise not to listen?
Sure.
I'll think you'll stay. We go back and forth.
All right. This
Don't need anything else?
Appreciate you.
No problem.
Thanks, Greg.
What time we went in? And out at 12:05. The next item on the agenda is consider and or approve action necessary from our executive session, and no action at this time. I don't need a motion for that, right? All right, item 19 is update on our COVID-19. That's you, Jerry. Jerry can't hardly talk though, so.
I'll give it my best.
Okay.
I can't hear you here.
Okay.
Oh, I can move back now.
I just knew everybody was gonna be coming in.
Okay, currently, Hutchinson County cases, 1,889 confirmed, more probable. Total Hutchinson County cases, 2,410. Currently, active cases are sitting at 5, which is 5 since the last one. Recovered cases, 2,328. Fatalities, 72. That's up 1 since the last time I talked to them. So this is currently statewide numbers as far as confirmed cases. This is as of yesterday. So in it's staying about the same number, 250 to 200 to 250 cases. 261 yesterday as far as new cases in the state, and then 11 reported fatalities yesterday. Statewide hospital data, currently 1,430 COVID patients in Texas hospitals. The current state positivity rate is 3.98%. This number keeps, you see on the graph there, it keeps ticking up a little bit. We actually had this down in the low 2% range, so it's kind of coming up a little bit. This is our trauma service area. Currently 20 COVID patients in hospitals. In available hospital space, we're still doing really well on hospitals, ventilators, and ICU capacity. This is BSA in Northwest Texas, so ventilator use still looks good with them. ICU utilization is out of the 70s into the 60s since last time I talked to you, so we're still on a good trend with that. They are accepting transfers to BSA in Northwest for COVID patients. This is our hospitalization rate for our trauma service area. Since last meeting, 2.48, and we're down into the just under 2% range. Golden Plains Community Hospital, this last week we did have one patient that was treated for COVID and released. But that was all week, we had one patient. Vaccine report, currently we've, in Hutchinson County residents, 10,517 doses have been administered. And then we still have these vaccines available. We did order pharmacy. We had quite a bit because we do have an ultra cold freezer unit at the border pharmacy, which we can store Pfizer. We actually had about 1,300 doses there available. It was getting close to its expiration, so we ended up having to ship back about 900 doses that we couldn't use. We kept some here because they're still getting about anywhere like 5 to 15 or so people that they're trying to schedule per day still. Oh, that's my other stuff. That was it.
Okay, any questions for Jerry on COVID? All right, item 20 is just to take any necessary action related to COVID or the American Rescue Plan, and we're still taking some applications for use for the American Rescue Plan. Anything, any updates on that? We're still getting guidelines, and Kathy and I usually try to attend the webinars that NACO or anyone else does in regards to the American Rescue Plan. So still working on that. All right, item 21 is to consider and or approve burn ban or rescind the burn ban.
Currently, our drought index is at a 241, which is still well below the 575 for any restrictions on fireworks. We have so our predicted fire forecasts are actually in low fire danger predicted by the state. That's my outlook for the next week. So we're doing pretty well. Hopefully, some of this rain pans out for us, keeps us
Good
in the
for the
low
forest.
range, but
Yeah.
Recommend no action.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, item 22 is to consider and or approve disposal of obsolete office equipment. I don't believe I have any. Yeah. 23 is accept certificates of completion from elected or appointed officials.
I have several from Carrie Kimmel, tax collector. One's for attendance of the 87th Annual Conference of Tax Collectors, and one's for education training for team building, and one for ethics. And that's all I have.
And 24 is to consider and or approve request for the use of the club rooms at the Border Library or Fritch.
I don't have anything.
I don't either.
Okay, 25, consider and or approve line item changes, transfers, and or budget amendments.
I don't have anything.
26, consider and or approve advertising, opening, accepting, or awarding bids.
I don't have anything on that.
Okay. 27, consider and or approve donations to Hutchinson County. Anybody out there? 28, accept reports from elected or appointed officials.
I have May reports, excuse me, from the district clerk, JP1, extension office, Edie and Christie, and also Christie's last final report, her June report, and a written report from Delaney Cooper Road Superintendent.
All right, 29 is discussion of county judges and commissioners precinct daily operations. I got anything?
The airport was delayed for a while. The two surveys from one of the contractor surveyors and the state surveyors didn't match. So the state surveyors were wrong. So they had to go back and survey it again, but they're back to work now. And they'll be through in about, let's see, I talked to him while I was on vacation. He said they'll be through after at least a month, and then the airport will be shut down totally for 1 week, which is good. So we'll be back on. We'll get that down the middle section where the other runway intersects. So, and then the annex, we had, we're still trying to get all the roof fixed. They're working on it. The soffit, I've contracted that contractor. I've contacted him several times, and we're trying to get that contract done. He's wanting me to pay for it. I didn't want to pay for it with my credit card. So that was part of the problem. So we're still working on the soffit. There's 2 places there where it's coming down.
Okay.
And I think that's it.
Y'all received the electronic version of the budget.
Yes.
So how do y'all feel about, instead of receiving the bills, the printout of the bills every time we have court, just receiving that electronically? Are y'all good with that?
I love that.
I'm good. I like it.
Okay. We may transition to that then if y'all are okay with
Yeah.
that. 'Cause
And even these directors' reports, like the museum and all
yeah,
that, just send them,
email it.
email them to us.
So we can
Yeah.
eliminate the need to
So
bring
there is
you a
no
packet.
packet. Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, a digital packet. Yes. Okay,
When do you want that to start?
before our next meeting.
Okay.
Yep. You You good with that?
Yep.
Okay.
So for the museum, we had the 95th birthday bash Saturday night. The Friends of the Museum put that on. Smitty Brothers were there for barbecue, and the Esquire Jazz Band was there. And probably had about 50 to 60 people.
Yeah, at least. Yeah,
It was a really good
great.
event,
It was an
and I
event.
just wanted
Great
to
event.
thank the Friends of the Museum and the museum staff because they worked hard. And
They
it was
did.
a really good event.
Yes,
Hopefully we can
and
have them back.
Tina Briscoe from the museum, the Friends of the Museum Historical, brought leftover cupcakes, and there's a whole bunch of cupcakes in there. So everybody get a cupcake before you leave. She was nice enough to share those with us. Yes.
That's all I got.
And that was a fun event. Need to do more of that. Okay. Item 30 is the struck off tax properties. And then we're going to talk a little bit about budget. Y'all take a break real quick or keep going?
Let's say keep
Keep going? Okay. All right. Good. All right. Tax properties. The first property is located at 303 and 307 South Chaparral Drive and 103 Hudson Road in Sanford, submitting an offer of $250 per lot with a total of $750 has been made by Danita Montez from Amarillo. Taxes haven't been paid on these properties ranging from 1999 to 2007. These properties were struck off March of 99 to 2014 and appraised at 520 to 750. So they're offering $250 per lot for a total of $750. This is lots 5 and 7, block 2, and lot 1, block 4 of Bugby Shores. Did you get the address? 303 and 307 South Chaparral Drive and 103 Hudson Road.
Yeah, all my properties are just trees.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing on the
Yeah,
lot.
there's nothing on them. I mean, you can look at them, but there's nothing to look at. Voila. So
I thought we already sold that property.
yeah,
Or one that
yeah,
looked just
they
like
all
it.
look the same.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One that looked just
I
like
move we
Mhm.
accept the bid as quoted for the properties.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, the next property is located at 0412 Roberts Road. That's 0,4,12, three lots. Submitting an offer of $250 per lot for a total of $1,250 has been made by Barbara and Charles Claybrook. And the properties range in value from $250 to $750. What?
Where's that one at?
Roberts Road. It's 0 Roberts Road, 4 Roberts Road, and 12 Roberts Road.
Is it at Fridge?
Sanford? Did you find that, Dwight?
No, I don't know if I got that one. I didn't go to Sanford this week.
Do you know where it's at? Where's that?
No ma'am, I'm looking it up right now.
Roberts Road? Is there a Roberts Road in
Yeah, I
Sanford?
didn't get that.
No, it's.
That's what it says.
It's.
So it's
showing,
out. Go ahead, Marcia.
uh,
It's out. It's out where you were, but it shows that in the yellow hammer when it wraps around. Yeah. It
So it's in Bugby instead of Sanford?
shows that
It's gonna be off Hudson.
it's this east road.
Oh, well, okay. It says here on the legal description, the physical address is Sanford, but the legal description is lots 28, 29, 30, 33, 34, block 5, unit 2, Bugby Shores.
Mhm.
Here's Roberts Road, and it's just this short section.
All the houses out there for that many
Yeah,
lots to be available.
I didn't look at it, so I don't have any
28,
information on
29,
this
30,
one.
33, 34. Do you want to table?
Yeah, let's
this?
table it because I haven't looked at it. I don't know what it is.
Okay, do you want to make that motion?
I motion we table this bid.
Go a second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second to table this particular bid. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, and then the next property is also in Sanford, so it is, but then again, it says Budbee on the legal description, and it's on Deer Drive. Lots 22, 23, 24, 25 of Budbee Shores, tract 23, Deer Drive.
Can I see that? I guess I didn't get these because I only got that one and another one I passed off.
And this, if you want to look at these pictures, it's just, it looks much like that picture that I thought we'd already sold that property.
Generic pictures.
Yeah, they are pretty generic.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no development on that property, and I hate, and of course they're offering.
Do you want to table that one too, so you can have a chance to look at it?
Yeah, I guess I move to table this one.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, the next property is a counter offer. Submitting a counter offer of $500 has been made by Leon Arson of Fritch. The property is located at South Wilhelm Avenue in Stinnett. Did you get that?
I didn't get that one. I didn't get anything from Stinnett. I got 3 in Golf Course Edition.
The property was struck off to the entities in 2015, appraised at $5,880, and evidently this is the counter offer.
That's where it was up not too long ago.
Yeah, it was kind of
I
like
remember seeing that.
We rejected?
We rejected it and countered it, I think.
The one with the abandoned structures.
Which one is it? Yes, that's the old building down there. And they're offering
Yeah.
what? 500?
The counter offer is 500, and so that's evidently because I always write in the counter offer amount,
Mhm,
so
I
that's
think,
probably what we put. Yes.
I would agree with that.
Is that your motion?
I'd make a motion to accept the counter offer of $500.
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Any further discussion?
I abstain.
All in favor? Okay. And then the next one is also the counter offer on that 1201 Wilhelm property, which I think is that little triangle.
Mm-hmm. It's
no, it's that. Yeah.
that
This
is
one.
actually right behind that other building we just looked at, I think.
Yeah.
If that's the one I'm thinking about. Yeah, there's that other building we just looked at up
Right.
there.
This was a couple months ago.
And it's $500 also.
I agree with that. So I'd make a motion to accept the $500 counter offer.
I'll second that one too.
Motion and second.
Is that from Ian also?
Yes.
I've abstained. Oh, wait,
All right.
you haven't got there. Sorry.
Any further discussion on that property? All in favor? All right, the next property is located at 104 to 220 Parr Avenue, 222, 224 Sandtrap Street, and 106 to 112 Eagle Lane in Border. So that's out at the golf course.
Yeah, there's 3 different tracks, correct?
Right,
Yeah.
lots, tracks.
Yeah.
Submitting an offer of 50 per lot for a total of $900 has been made by Ian Larson.
I looked at all of these. They're actually in 3 different tracks. There's this tract 1 is lot 3 through 13. They're all buildable lots. There's just some trees on them. The other tract there's 4 lots on it. Lots 4, 5, 6, 7. These are all the same, so we just make a motion on all 3 tracks, maybe?
Yeah, it was all completed in one bid. Yeah.
Right. Okay, then, that's track 1, that's track 2. There's another tract with 2.5 lots in it, but every one of these lots are just about the same. They're all buildable lots. They're usable lots. They have a few trees on them, but they're all just about alike. But I think last time we countered these at $250 a lot. This one on Eagle Lane come up just not too long ago, and I think we countered it at $250. And he's offering $50 again.
$50 per lot.
Yeah. So I think all the lots concerned here should be $250. We should counter.
Per lot?
Yeah.
Okay, is that your
So
motion?
I make a motion to counter at $250 for all 3 tracks in Golf Course Edition.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, the next property and the final property is located at 105, 107, 109 2nd Street in Sanford. But again, it's in Bugby Heights. Submitting an offer of $50 per lot by Ian Larson. They're appraised anywhere from $630 to $900. And they all look like the same picture.
So since he abstains and all that, he passed this on to me to tell me to check it out. And I emailed, so the purchase amount shows $600 total with a deposit of $300, but it only says $50 per lot, which would be $150. So I emailed to get some more information, but I haven't got that back. So I'd like to table that, because if it's only $50 a lot, I want a little bit more too. But the total is $600. So
Right.
I emailed to get some more info. So I'd like to table it to try to get to clarify to see exactly what's going on.
All right. So is that your motion?
To table it, yes, ma'am.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Oh, no, we have another one. Let's connect it with that one. Sorry. The last one is 818 Morris Avenue in Stinnett. Did you get that one?
No, I haven't got anything that's in it this time. 818.
818 Morris. Is that what I said? Morris Avenue?
City Barn.
Yeah, I'm thinking Morris. Did I give you that one? Oh, I must have just got that one. I probably connected with that one. Is that the lot?
I don't think so, because that's unless I'm mistaken, that's the city lot right there. That's by the city barn. And the city of Stinnett uses that, I believe. What's in this picture anyway.
Do you want to table that then?
I think we should table that. You'll look at it, because I'm not real sure.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to table it.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second to table that. Further discussion? All in favor? Oh,
You want this?
yeah, and I'll send those out to y'all. Make sure you get them.
You said that was, what was that address again? 8 what?
It is 818 Morris.
818.
Yeah. All right, y'all, let's take a quick break before we start our budget workshop, because I need to holler at Edie. She wanted to visit with us. Oh, Edie's here. I didn't see you sneak in. Okay, well, then we're ready. Come on up. Yeah, you can come on up. Just wanted to visit with us briefly about the extension office budget.
Yes, I wanted to just point out a few things to y'all. First off, I just want to thank y'all for your support for Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. Thank you for hiring Derek this morning. He's very excited, and we've been visiting all morning, and he's ready to start and serve here. Thank y'all for all the things that you do to support us. Our budget, we pretty much kept the same. We have just a few minor changes. I wanted to point out that we did increase the line item for the secretary position, so that we could promote Amanda up to +2. And, we also changed the line item that says co-economist. And I actually am not sure.
No, it's, hold on just a second.
Okay.
It is 565, 10565. So y'all can look at that.
Okay,
Page
so-
37.
It's 6.
Oh, I can't, I need to go.
It's page 37.
And yes, and I need glasses also. I'm looking at my little big one. And we just increased that slightly.
37. Yeah. Yeah, I had it written down there.
We increased that slightly for my adult programming for, I use it to buy incentives and ingredients for programs, mostly for my adult programming. I felt the need to increase that slightly. And I don't think that we raised anything else. Our office equipment line item stayed the same, and we are still able to get discounted computers from Texas A&M, but their cost has significantly gone up over the last year. We still get a good rate though with that. Amanda, our office manager, her computer crashed, so we will be dealing with that, with replacing hers soon. Also, we just would ask that if there is a cost of living raise, we would ask to be considered for the county portion of our salaries. And we would appreciate that if possible. Yes.
Do you have those figures? Because this isn't showing any increases
We-
except in one.
We are not, are you talking about on the office equipment?
Well, no, on the whole budget. Did you submit these? Because it's not like the salary and all that stuff's not.
No, the salary, I will never put the salary.
Well, I meant the
But
expenditure.
there should be an increase in,
There's not much.
3351. $50.
Yeah, it's $50.
That's all.
And then there should be a $250 increase in 5700.
So that's all. I mean, it's just
That's-
minimal increase.
Yes,
Okay, that's what I was
yes,
asking.
very minimal, yes. Yes, very minimal. So I think that's all I
Okay.
I needed.
Thanks,
Thank
Edie. Y'all
very
have any
much.
questions for Edie?
Do you have any questions for me? Appreciate what y'all do. Thank you.
Thank you, Edie.
Thank you.
So this is my first budget session, of course. The numbers that they're going to give us, will these be entered in or they're
I have
already?
all of the budgets that I have received that have asked for changes. The changes are in the new.
Are in this?
Yes, they're in
Okay.
there. Before we ran it, I made sure I had all of the changes in
Okay.
there. Now, we won't have insurance in there yet, and these are just requests they've asked for to kind of give you an idea.
Okay.
Yeah. That doesn't mean we will approve them necessarily, but they're what they requested. So all of
Okay,
those changes are in there.
We get the final appraisal at the end of July, correct? Or middle of July?
Yes,
Is that the
that
time?
budget calendar, yeah, we'll get that right before we have to set that
They're not gonna have any
proposed. Well, sometimes, I mean, Joe's pretty good about getting that to us as quickly as he can, so. But I haven't got anything yet. And as soon as I do, I'll push it out to you guys.
So all these increases from
That have
From
been
the
requested
current
by the
budget
departments.
to the requested are
Are on
items that,
there, yes.
items that they requested.
Yes,
Okay.
just items that they've requested. And so they're on that new budget.
Yeah.
And so that gives you something to look at and to work on, for the sessions when we actually get the final, or the certified values. But today, Edie's the only department that has requested to visit with me. Did you guys have anything? No? So,
As in changes or?
well, I know you have changes, but normally, well, I sent an email out last week that basically said, if you have changes that you want to explain to the court, then you're welcome to come to the court and kind of give us your reasoning for those increases. Because a lot of times I see them and I think, Laura, was it you that wrote all this stuff? Yeah. So Laura wrote some explanations. You all don't see those. I've seen them, but it's good for when we have large increases. Like we'll say last year, Jerry had a significant increase in his budget because he wanted to present the tower and the radio system, not the tower, the radio system. And so he brought the information to the court so the court could be familiar with why he was asking for that large amount. And so.
Yeah, that's why we're here. I just didn't know how this process works.
Yeah. Normally, and it doesn't really matter because I'm pretty flexible, but when I send an email out, I like to get a response, that says, hey, we plan to be there so we can discuss our budget.
I didn't see your email, but I thought any changes to what we already submitted.
Oh, no.
And so that's
Sorry.
how I interpreted it.
No, I may have not made myself clear with that, but yeah.
So do all the department heads at one point will be in front of us
If they
selling their
want to,
vision?
there were many departments that said no changes. No changes,
Yeah,
no
there was a
changes,
lot of
no
those.
changes, yeah. Their budgets were fine. But, I mean, it's very unusual that the departments that spend lots of money, like the sheriff's department, the jail, that they don't have significant changes every year. That's been my, that's what I've found. It just, they have large budgets and there's just lots of things that need to change. So yeah, Sheriff, come up. If you want to talk about your budget.
Well, I think Laura needs to say herself too.
And let us all get on the same page.
Okay.
Sheriff's budget is 560, I think.
Page 29.
Am I right there?
29.
560. You'll deal with those a lot, so I actually have this memorized.
So we basically stuck with last year's budget. I did cut. Put in the budget. The only thing really large, some that we're asking for, the jail needs new body cameras.
Are we on the sheriff's budget?
Yeah, we just got to talk about sheriff's budget
Okay,
first.
okay.
Yeah, they're two separate budgets, so.
Yes, ma'am. We raised our uniform just a little bit, to get everybody on the same page, get some quality stuff. Also, obviously, go ahead.
On the office supplies, we went up on that because the toner for all of our copiers, they're running anywhere from $167 to $176. We're trying to use the Xerox machine as much as we can, but everybody has a printer in their office. So we've had to go up on that because of COVID, a lot of prices have increased. Just the same way with our postage and box rent, since we have to raise that because we're already overdrawn in that line item because with COVID, everything shut down last year. So right now they're having sheriff sales, so we're having to send out letters and postage on that. I do bill Purdue for the postage, and I believe that she sent a check. Purdue and Brandon with
For your postage?
for all the the postage I sent out and stuff.
That kind of the postage fee is put into my budget.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's that.
Okay. Well, we're not putting it back in that line item then.
Yeah, because we have to, we've been sending out a lot, and that's the reason why our line item is over on that as well. And we're gonna be doing and like there's a sheriff's sale coming up July 6th. So, and there's gonna be more, I've already been told, so.
You're just trying to play catch up with a lot of
Oh,
that.
yes, definitely. And I can also tell you
that on quite a few of our line items, the reason why that we are over, that when, I went to work for Sheriff Kemp, January 1st, I was notified of several, invoices that were not paid in a year and a half, and they should have been paid out of the previous budget, and so we've had to pay them out of this year's budget, and they were late, and so that's the reason why on our uniform, a bunch of those, it is overdrawn because of that reason, and some other as well. And I do have copies of all those invoices that were past due over a year as well, if anybody wanted to see those.
What did that amount to altogether? You remember?
Like from Galls, it was way over $1,000. With inmate mental, I think it was roughly, I have copies of all those. Those were over a year behind, and
The Galls thing, is that the one that you're just paying?
Huh?
Is that the one that you're just paying in this bill to Galls?
No,
Okay.
no, we
I just saw
already
Galls
got
on
him paid, but
Okay.
it took out of his budget, which should have went out of last year's budget. On the mental health, I'll have to look at that. It's up in the thousands.
Mhm.
What do you pay on
Figured.
mental health?
Well, I didn't realize there was that's not on the sheriff's side, that's on the jail side.
Oh,
I
on
didn't
the
realize there was
contract staff?
I didn't know there was
Okay.
a mental health
Okay.
line, but, yeah, that is completely got out of hand.
Right.
But, also I've checked with tires and stuff. If you look at the tire line item, tires have went up in price because of COVID. So a lot of things have went up in price. I know when I was at the sheriff's office previously, we could get a box of gloves, and 100 gloves come in a box, 10 come in a case. We used to get them for $26.95. Right now they're $195. But I'm very fortunate that Jerry Langwell has been able to get us some gloves to help with the jail and with the deputies, because that was already blowing the budget on supplies. It was, and then in the training, on our training budget.
Yeah, we increased that by $1,000.
Mhm.
I mean, that's kind of even a low increase. I think our deputies need more training on some stuff that we're doing. So
Yeah.
I think that's a proven thing to do.
And on the training, a lot of it was shut down last year because of COVID. So we are having to send them to classes. Now, there's some classes they can do online, which we have, but the rest of them, you have to be in class, and they have to get these training hours. If not, they will lose their license.
So you're having to double up on that
We're
because they
having-
missed,
yes.
but the training hasn't gone up any, right?
The prices haven't, but
No, some of it has, but not.
The lodging and stuff, that's
Yeah,
what people,
yeah.
the travel and
Gas,
lodging.
The gas and the
It's
lodging.
costing them more.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Are you anticipating, you said more training, are you adding different
we're
layers or something?
we're adding a SWAT team. We got 30 people on SWAT school next month, and then we'll send some more later in the year. So that's going to be added. Different specialized training for some of our investigators needs to be done. It's just stuff that we need to pick up on.
Question on your copier expense. You said that it's going to be higher.
No, we left it the same for the sheriff.
Oh,
The supply-
okay.
Office supplies for toner.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's just-
okay.
Yeah, office supplies, and then, your basic supplies, everything has gone up in price.
Yeah, okay.
You'll see squad cars. I don't know what it reads on y'all's handout.
$239.
Okay, and the reason that it says that,
It's up here. It's up there on the
Okay.
TV too.
okay, gotcha.
Thanks, Jerry.
The reason it says that, if we don't get our 3 cars that we ordered back in January, and by that time, it will be over into the new budget. We have contacted them. Should be sending them, we should get them before the deadline. And go ahead and get this update out of our deal. Otherwise, it would then bleed over to the next year. Money will still be there, it's just be on a different budget.
There's a shortage on vehicles right now being done, but I have called them and in contact with them.
On the 2 car, and that, I feel like constables might want to talk about this too. When we talked about this months ago, we said we'd revisit this because you said both the constables wanted 2 cars.
They've since changed their mind, so I don't know.
So what are we gonna do with are we gonna?
Yeah, I'm gonna trade all of
them
them. I'll trade the extra ones in that I'm not using, and we'll get 2 new ones. So we should, with that 120 for the 2 new vehicles, I think we should come out real good on that.
And then the drop in, my last question, the drop in the canine expenses to 5,000. Can you give give an update on the dog, and then two, since we spent, how do you think that's gonna be viable for 5,000?
The only reason it's 12,500 is because I requested to take a line item change earlier. So it reflects that current line item change of the extra 7,000 that we had. So we're just gonna stick with the 5,000 that was there before.
That was what was budgeted prior.
So, and he certifies Tuesday. So we good to go. Other than that, it's really gonna be the deals on the sheriff's side.
Thank you.
Yes. Computer support and maintenance. Well, we,
Oh, I,
big jump
On the sheriff's side,
no,
Oh,
I
that's
can talk to you about that. Is that on the jail or
No, that's a sheriff.
It's on the sheriff.
the 5721?
Yes.
yes.
Does that have to do with the spillman system?
Yes,
Yeah, that's fine.
Mhm. I mean,
but I don't have it in
No,
there.
it's not.
It's not on ours. When did you run yours?
This morning.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
see, I put it in after I ran this, so it doesn't, it's not reflective on here.
I can't believe
But
you didn't ask
that,
about that.
yeah, we didn't put this, is it Stillman? Spillman, which is the new computer system. We're trying to get hold of Odyssey to see if they will tell me how much if we get off of Jail Manager completely and go to this other system, which actually talks to Odyssey and integrates all the information into Odyssey, which is gonna be way cheaper and user-friendly for the jail, correct? Or I mean, for the sheriff's office.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
So, I've been kind of following up on that a little bit with Spillman and Border, with the Spillman system. So the Spillman system what it would do is replace the two systems that they're currently using at the sheriff's office for in-car terminals, and as well as the jail manager and their RMS system. And the Spillman system would do all of that combined. But with Odyssey, they're currently paying about $36,000 a year for just annual maintenance for Odyssey for their RMS system. With the Spillman system, just the annual maintenance is about $4,000 a year. But it also has the integrations that we've been looking for a long time, as far as integration between Odyssey, between Tech Sheriff for the district and county attorney's office. It has those integrations as well. Potter County had recently went to the system. Recently, it's been about 7 years or so. It went to the system, and there's been some changes with the reporting for grants and stuff. The current system, or Odyssey, didn't provide that without an expensive upgrade. So I think, Andy, didn't y'all go to CopSync to try to get that done with the reporting?
Yeah, you're using CopSync right now.
Currently, we're using CopSync.
So they had to kind of throw in an upgrade kind of at the spur of the moment to try to get the reporting done for some certain grants that were coming available. But this system will take pretty much those other systems, and then you'd have one system to use instead of the current ones that you're
At a significant cost savings
yeah, you're
for next budget year. You know, you're gonna have your startup costs this year, but first we've gotta get Odyssey to talk to us, or Tyler. And that's like pulling teeth.
Yeah,
So
the issue we're
I
trying to
made
get now
multiple
is
phone calls
to
to him,
see
but
Well, as soon as they find out you're going somewhere else, they're not going to be involved.
well, they won't even call me back. So
yeah, the issue was trying to find out from Odyssey, because they charge us the county $110,000 a year for just annual maintenance and fees. But I need to find out from them what the reduction of that cost would be if the sheriff's office was not using RMS or was not using the jail manager. How much would that reduce the overall cost of the county? Because the county's cost of the new system would only be $4,000 a year. Currently, they're paying about $36,000 or so a year. So, yeah, $30,000 a year savings.
Are we talking jail, or do we want Captain?
I think we went over it together, so we can talk about that too.
So what on the equipment is raised from 5,000 to 47,000?
Yeah, and we're using, the jail's currently using the old body cameras that we had before. Problem is, the software is not updating on them, and they're taking crap. So when we got the new Axon systems for the patrol cars, I wasn't here yet, but when we got those in, those older body cameras started to become obsolete. They don't put into the same optimization as
She got a quote on it too.
yeah, so they need the main issue that we need the cameras in the jail. I did suggest that we use the old ones. They've been going through them, they've been breaking, just because they're all. It covers our ass, pardon my language, but it covers from lawsuits and everything else that we have to deal with. If something happens, we have use for it, if someone tries to sue us, it's necessary.
If she hasn't changed the quote from what she initially looked at, it would be the same quote that we were looking at as far as the systems are actually upgraded at 2.5. It's a 5-year contract, and the systems are upgraded at 2.5 years. So we would get the cameras at a 2.5-year period, and then again at a 5-year period. So we're actually due the field guys are due to get our 5-year upgrade here in December. The cameras that we have purchased.
We went ahead and cut some other stuff. Also, we cut our inmate housing in half. We cut our officer maintenance down. And so we have tried to do some reasonable cuts where we can.
And the contract documents will stay the same. I've already got it on contract paper.
Yeah, they went up last year, I think.
Yes.
Other than that, everything's relatively the same as last year.
Thank you. Y'all have any more questions for the sheriff on his budget? We might at a later date.
That's fine.
Who knows? Yeah, constables, y'all want to talk about yours?
I can't. I didn't, everybody else, I didn't bring my notes, but
Hold on a second, let's find it. It's 450, 450, no, 550 and 551. There's no huge significant changes. Well, page 27, I'm sorry, 27, 28.
I've got to go to a doctor's appointment. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So go ahead.
Take care of what?
our training budget, because everything's increasing, gas, housing, and everything to go to these trainings. I'm already over budget on that. We had to go to new constable school, we had to go to the training funds from the state helped out a little bit on it, that aren't shown on the online. What else was
The dues,
Oh, yeah, the dues, if we, right now, I think we had 150 in dues.
yes,
We're trying to upgrade that so we can get the lifetime memberships. And
which is way more cost effective.
Yeah, we won't have to pay for the association dues ever again on those associations. I think one of them is $450 for a lifetime membership, and the other one's like. Yeah. And I don't know about Webster, but I'm gonna look into possibly getting a body camera for next year. When we go out on
Any questions?
Do y'all both have computers? What? This is a housekeeping thing. I was just noticing there's a computer line item in Constable 1, but
Right.
1 and 2. There's just different line items that, like equipment maintenance and 2.
Computer, there wasn't a computer in Constable 2.
Wonder why that was.
There is now, I'm not sure. So,
There's one that was like 1995.
That
I
old,
noticed those line items were different.
that old constable didn't need a computer.
No.
All right, thanks. Appreciate y'all.
He carried it with him all the time.
Okay. Anything else? Robin, you got anything for us? All right, well, there's a starting point. Y'all can look at that. And we will continue. Was that the last thing on my agenda? Yes.
Except for the adjourn.
I put it all away. So if there's nothing further at this point, meeting adjourned.
All right.
We're gonna try not to do 1 o'clock every time, but thanks y'all, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
So the meeting I come back for,
Do what?
so the meeting I come back for,